Disclaimer. All views expressed on What Makes Us Fire are solely those of the person or persons giving them. What Makes Us Fire does not represent or claim to represent any particular city or fire department, and therefore make the claim that all views and standpoints are affiliated with What Makes Us Fire and with What Makes Us Fire only. Any mention of certain fire departments or cities within the interviews are solely for informational and opinion-based dialogue. In short, if you have a problem with what's published, just say something about it and don't be a Richard.
Today's guest, Gay, Gray, the TikTok Peacock. That's how he's known on social media. And he'll tell you how he got that name. Gray's a law enforcement officer. He's a friend, and he's an influencer on social media. He comes on the show and helps us heal that stigma of mental health and sharing his trials, what he's been through, how he's beating it, how he has beat it. Give a little bit of ourselves in this one. Share some stuff that he probably wasn't prepared to share, but he did. And then we get into the whole, why the hell did we start this social media thing to begin with? Oh yeah. We do talk about the What Makes Us Fire Foundation a little bit, because I don't know how to shut up about it. But you know what? It's okay. I'm going to keep talking about it. I want to thank Gray for coming on the show. I hope you all enjoy the TikTok Peacock. I have this problem where I keep inviting guests onto the show that look better than me, and I need to find some ugly motherfuckers to have on the show so I start looking a little bit better.
I don't know what you're talking about, man. You're a pretty handsome guy.
Yeah. I appreciate that. I don't know. Nice and early in the morning, huh? Well, it's not that.
Yeah. No, it's 10 o'clock. We're good.
Yeah.
I had to get up early this morning and take the kids to school, but you know.
Yeah, I did the same thing. Took them to school, came back home, fell asleep.
Yeah, I did not do that. I came back home and I got on TikTok live for a little bit. So had a pretty good conversation though. It was actually really good live this morning.
That's good. I try to go live whenever I go to work. Every morning when I go to work, every morning when I come back home. Gotta pick people up in the morning. I've learned that when you start off the morning with a good day, it tends to feed into the rest of the day.
Oh, absolutely.
So
absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Well, brother, as you can see, we're recording already. Everything's recorded. So, you know, if I say something or we say something or you say something that you don't want published, just let me know. I can edit it out. No big deal. I want to say thank you for coming on the show. I really do appreciate it. I know, I don't know if you've heard a lot about What Makes Us Fire, the podcast and the foundation and what we're about. I know we had a little bit of a conversation, but we didn't really dive into it very deep.
Yes.
But like I said, first and foremost, I just want to say thank you for coming on the show. There's a lot of people are hesitant to come on a show like this, especially with the topic focusing a lot on mental health, you know, and stuff like that. It's an uncomfortable conversation, but the whole idea about having people come on is we need to kill that idea that it needs to be an uncomfortable conversation.
Right. Absolutely.
It should be a normal conversation. It should be a conversation that we're comfortable having. So I appreciate you coming on the show.
Dude, I appreciate you having me. I'm actually honored to be able to come on the show and be here with it. So
I appreciate that, man. Real quick, I like to tell the audience how I get my guests on the show. And it's a very similar story for a lot of my guests. I stalk them for a little bit. I send them a message. Hey, would you like to be on a podcast? I don't hear from them for a few months. And then they see a video or saw that one of their friends was on the podcast. And they're like, oh, I guess that guy's not a creep as much as I thought. So I'm going to reach back out to him and be like, yeah, cool, let's do it. Basically, I pretty much just explained what happened with you and me.
Yeah.
I reached out to you a few months ago. Said, hey, would you like to be on a podcast? I messaged you. Now, I get it. You have a large family on your social media platform, a lot of people who take time to see what you put out there. So I'm sure you get plenty of messages, and the last thing you need is some random ass firefighter saying, hey, you want to be on a podcast? But it was a couple months ago, I messaged you, never heard back. And I was like, oh, well, I quote unquote shot my shot at the TikTok Peacock, and it didn't work out. Later on down the road, you saw that, I had Pops, I had Officer Scales, I had Sir Lancelot, I had, a bunch of other fairly large creators that are in the civil service, PD, fire and stuff on the show. And you reach back out and you're like, hey, what's up? I think it was Pops 951. I don't know. You did a love slap to him or something one time. And I was in his live and I was like, you need to tell him to get on the damn show, Pops. Go tell freaking TikTok Peacock he needs to come on the show. I reached out to him a while ago. You never reached back. I don't know if he did go to tell you to come on the show or not, but if he did, awesome. If he didn't, I need to slap him across the head because I asked him to do me a favor and he didn't. But yeah, that's how I got you on the show, man. It's very simple. But what I like to do is I like to ask, one, why would you agree to go on a show like this, right? And two, what was that push to make you finally say, okay, yeah, I'll do it?
It's not for me. Like, I remember when I got the message from you. I remember when you asked me, and I had completely meant to message you back and say, yes, absolutely. Like, I'm always down to help the podcast and do podcasts. And especially once I talked to you and got to kind of figure out what Makes Us Fire is about and what your organization is about, then it really made me want to come on even more, just because of, talking about mental health and civil service and everything like that. Pops never reached out to me. So
I'm going to kick his ass.
You can slap him across the head. He never reached out to me. I do get a lot of messages, so it did take a little bit. But once I saw your message, I was like, oh, podcast? I'm definitely there for that. And then at the same time, I was kind of like, well, why is he reaching out to me? I'm nobody big. I'm nobody special. Like, I'm just the TikTok Peacock. But I was happy you did reach out, and I'm definitely happy to be a part of it.
Well, and I'm happy you did too. And I'm reaching out to you because of the content that I've seen you put out there, the stuff you talk about on your lives and everything else. And we're going to dive into that a little bit later on. I really do. Like I said, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you being willing and open to talk a little bit about your story and your point of view on all this. Where'd you come from, bro? And when I say where you come from, don't give me the, oh, I'm from South Alabama and I did that. No. What I'm talking about is, where did the little Peacock grow up to the point where his ass feathers bloomed to where he is now? How'd you grow up, man? Where'd you grow up from? What was your family life like? And the reason why I ask this is I think it allows people to know that everybody has a hard upbringing. Some people harder than others, but that doesn't dictate who we can be when we grow up, for lack of a better term, right?
Man, so I was born in San Diego, California. My family is from here in Tennessee, small town, West Tennessee. My dad was in the Navy for 6 years, and while he was in the Navy, I was born in San Diego, on the naval base there. I think it was a Balboa Naval Hospital. Shortly after I was born, my dad got out of the Navy, moved back to Tennessee, where we're from. This is where I grew up. This is where I've always called home. I grew up in a town where football is life, sports are life. You grow up and you don't play sports, something's wrong with you.
So did you play sports?
I did.
Oh, okay.
I grew up playing football, baseball, basketball, the whole 9 yards. Ended up going to college and playing baseball. So I had a scholarship to play baseball in college. So I did that whole thing. But I grew up just like any other Southern boy, man. I didn't really hunt a whole lot. I like to fish. I like to be outdoors. I like to do anything like that. I grew up in a time where electronics weren't big. We had like Nintendo and Atari and Super Nintendo and stuff, but we spent most of our time outside playing. We're playing hide and seek, playing spotlight and tag, and throwing the baseball. Playing different football games with neighbors and stuff like that. So I'd say I had a pretty decent upbringing. My parents divorced when I was probably like 6 when they divorced or something like that. That kind of threw my life into a tailspin as a child. My mom was real bad into drugs. She lived a life of running from the law. And I was a part of that because she had custody of me. So I was, I don't remember how old I was, maybe 7, 8, when the feds raided our house. The cops raided our house, and I guess they had been watching my mother and her crew that she'd run with for a while. And so I remember they raided and they arrested her. And after they arrested her and she bonded out and everything, she went on the run so she wouldn't go to prison. My dad ended up getting custody of me when I was 9, which is probably the best thing that ever happened to me, because if that did not happen, there's no telling where I would have ended up in life. I probably would have ended up, honestly, following in the footsteps of my mother. Life of drugs. I probably would have ended up in jail, in trouble. I feel like, you kind of are a product of your upbringing, in a sense of terms.
I think so too. I think that sometimes as we grow up, if we do not see that there is an option out of the life that we've grown up in, if we don't see any type of option, sometimes we do just fall in line. Now, there are kids that have upbringings that they'll see that option, and then they have to learn how to take that step away from.
Absolutely.
Right. So, but it's really hard when you see this one way of life always being it. You get an option and you're like, well, I never knew that was an option. It's scary because I don't even know it. I'm just going to stick with what I know.
Right.
And sometimes that happens, and then they fall in line with, the bad behavior, the bad decisions, and everything else. It sounds like you were able, or your father was able, to actually get you to safety, for lack of a better term. He pulled you away. And I mean, that's huge, because God forbid that wasn't able to happen. Who knows?
Oh yeah. And I'm thankful every day for my dad and my stepmom. My stepmother she's been in my life since I was 9. She has been a mother to me. I do not call her, when I talk about her, I don't talk about her as a stepmom. I talk about her as her mom, because she has been a mother to me. My mother, my real mother, I think she ended up going to prison shortly after my dad got custody of me. And she went for drugs. She spent, I think, 2 or 3 years in prison. She got out on probation. When she got out of prison, I believe I was 12, 13 years old. And she and I developed a relationship once she got out of prison, because she got out of prison and decided to take a step away from the lifestyle of drugs and the lifestyle that she was living before. So we developed a good relationship, mother-son relationship, from the time I was like 12, 13, all the way up till I was 16. Once I turned 16, she began seeing a guy who was known to sell drugs. He was known to be real big into drugs. And at that point, our relationship began to fail and began to falter. And it was more along the lines, I blame her. She blames me. But, in my personal opinion, I'm the child. It shouldn't be my fault. It should be her fault. She didn't try to have a relationship with me once she got to that point. If she wanted to see me, she wanted me to come to the house where she was staying with all the drugs and everything else going on.
Right.
I would offer to say, hey, let's meet at the mall. Let's go to the park. Let's meet at a restaurant. Let's go out to eat. Let's do this. Let's do that. She never wanted to do anything. She didn't want to make the effort to see me unless I came to her. I turned 17. I graduated high school. I sent her two invitations to my graduation. Didn't hear anything. She didn't come, didn't show up, never got a card, anything like that. Turned 18, earned a scholarship to go play baseball in college. Hadn't seen my mom in probably 2 years. And me and my best friend were walking through Walmart one day. I was like, dude, I think I just saw my mom. And he was like, what? And, he knew the whole situation. We've been best friends since second grade. I was like, yeah, man, I think I just saw my mom. And so I walked down to the aisle where I thought I saw her. And sure enough, it was her. And, I was like, hey. And it was just an awkward meeting because we hadn't seen each other in 2 years. And I explained to her that, I missed her at graduation. I graduated high school. I was going to college, play baseball, that I earned a scholarship, that I was doing good for myself and everything. Gave her a hug. We went on our separate ways. Didn't hear anything from her for another 2 years, I think. In January of 2006, I was a junior in college. I made the decision to join the military. At that point, I decided that college wasn't for me. I enjoyed playing baseball. I enjoyed what college had to offer. I did not enjoy going to
the parties,
the girls, the parties.
Let's be honest,
the going out,
the going out. Yeah,
I didn't enjoy the going to school aspect. The classes and stuff like that. Right. And I knew at that point that college wasn't for me. It wasn't right. It wasn't the right fit. So I'm talked to my dad, my mom about it. My dad said, well, look, son, if you want to drop out of college, that's fine and dandy, but you're not just going to drop out and do nothing. You're going to drop out. You're either going to get a full-time job at a factory or you're going to join the military. I was like, ooh, never had thought about the military ever prior to that. And of course I had recruiters reaching out.
Even with your dad in prior military, it was never an option in your head.
Never thought, man. Never thought. I had plenty of recruiters reach out like through high school, as they do, trying to get me to join all the various branches. Even after 9/11, I was a junior in high school when 9/11 happened. I just had no, my goal in life was to go to college, play baseball, get drafted and go play, pro baseball.
MLB,
that was my goal.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I was like. That was it. That was the life that I wanted. And it did not work out that way. So January of 2006, I made the decision to join the military. After talking to my parents, my dad, we sat down and he said, look, son, he said, if you're going to join the military, he said, you're not joining the Marines, you're not joining the Army, and you're definitely not joining the Navy. And, I said, okay.
Air Force it is.
He said Air Force or Coast Guard. I said, okay. About that time, I think that was around the time Hurricane Katrina was happening or had happened. So, all you saw on the news was these guys jumping out of helicopters and being lowered down from helicopters, rescuing people off roofs, rescuing people from the water. And I was like, man, that looks cool. Like, looks pretty awesome, pretty badass. I want to jump out of helicopters and save people, Mm-hmm. So I went to Memphis and I met with a recruiter for the Coast Guard. I liked what the Coast Guard had to offer. So I went ahead and said, you know what, let's do it. Let's sign the dotted line. Let's sign the paperwork and let's make this happen. So we signed, went and took my ASVAB test. I scored well on my ASVAB and, got the paperwork and ball rolling for it. And in May of 2006, I went to boot camp for the United States Coast Guard. And, I think it was July or end of June. I don't know. It was 8 weeks. So July, I ended up graduating boot camp. I did the 8 weeks. I made it through. Good experience in life. It helped me grow up, helped me learn a lot about me as a person. And then I was kind of sent into a tailspin when I found out I was being stationed in Guam, which is halfway around the world. So yeah. So I took.
When it comes to Coast Guard, I think people don't actually realize Coast Guard. While yes, they're very, very, they're probably one of, besides the National Guard, they're probably one of the most utilized stateside branches than any other branch. There here in the States, a lot of, Marine Army. Yes, we have our bases. Yes, we have our posts, but they're not utilized as much as the Coast Guard because of our natural disasters along the coast, because of that stuff. I think when it comes to that kind of stuff and the drug smuggling and all the ports that we have, our ports are extremely busy. Some of our ports are considered international waters, even though they're, 50 miles in on the bay.
Yes.
So we have to, I think they're the most utilized but underrated parts of the branches of the military branches that we don't really talk about much. They're the most utilized here in the stateside. And I don't think people really honestly know how much they do.
Oh yeah. And that's the thing. Like, and being a prior coastie, like, I get picked on by other branches and, other people from other services and stuff like that.
You
I was in the
pirate.
Coast Guard. Yeah, that's
puddle
right.
Pirate. Yeah, puddle pirate.
I tell people they're just jealous. Listen, you got to be 6 foot tall to join the Coast Guard. That way, if your boat sinks, you can walk back to shore. Okay, let's just be honest. So, like, if you didn't get in the Coast Guard, it's because you're not tall enough. Okay, you weren't tall enough to ride the ride. But no, the Coast Guard is definitely one of the more underappreciated services, and a lot of people, they're like, well, that's not a branch of the military. Yeah, it actually is a branch of the military.
Yes,
I know it's not a part of the Department of Defense, it's DHS, but if you look it up, it is considered a branch of the military. I didn't deploy per se like other branches. I didn't go overseas and fight in a war or anything like that, but I did do deployments. I mean, I was away when I was in Guam. I was away from home for 2 years. To me, that's a deployment. I was gone. I was away from my family. I was away from my friends, people that, things that I'm accustomed to, people that I love.
You weren't in your home country. You were deployed.
Exactly. Exactly. I was in a different place, a little bitty island in the South Pacific. I'm very grateful for the time that I spent in Guam. I'm very grateful that I was blessed enough to be able to go and be stationed there, because I got to visit some amazing places while I was there. At 20, I was 20 years old when I went to Guam. I've been to Hawaii and Australia, Japan, China, all different islands in the South Pacific. I've been on Iwo Jima. I've seen the iconic site where the Marines raised the flag during World War II. I've been right there. I left my name up there. I left my insignia up there with the Coast Guard. So I've gotten to do things in my life at a very young age that without the Coast Guard, I never would have done. So yeah, I spent 2 years over there. I left Guam and got stationed in Jacksonville, Florida, which is where I wanted to go. It was closer to home, I think it was like an 11-hour drive from home versus like a 2-day flight from Guam. So I spent 6 years in Jacksonville. I ended up meeting my soon-to-be ex-wife when I went back home to Tennessee.
Whoa. We're going to hit on that a little bit later. You just dropped a bomb on me, bro.
Yeah.
I was unawares, and I apologize for that.
No,
anyway, okay.
Good.
So I'm gonna go back to some of this stuff, but I want you to finish. I'm gonna go back to some of the stuff that you said, because I think it's very important that we kind of touch a little bit on some of the things you've talked about. But so 6 years in Jacksonville, you met your soon-to-be ex-wife.
Yeah.
and then what?
We spent our 6 years in Jacksonville, Florida. She's from here as well. She's from my town. We had our son there. We went through a pretty rough, not us personally, but 2013 was a rough year for me. And I talked about this a little bit on my live a little bit ago, but 2013 was a rough year for me. I suffered a couple of losses in 2013 that were very hard to get past. But with those losses, I gained a beautiful angel in my daughter. So, got out of the military in December of 2013 and we decided as a family to move back to Tennessee, to move back home, to be closer to our families and our friends. as soon as we got back, I got put to work by one of her cousins. He owns an electrical company here, and he put me to work immediately, which I was very thankful for. I got out of the Coast Guard knowing I wanted to get into law enforcement. I missed putting on a uniform. I know it probably sounds cliche, but wearing a uniform for 8 years of your life and waking up knowing that you're serving a purpose, I missed that. So when I got out of the Coast Guard, law enforcement was something that I had, decided that I wanted to do and wanted to get into. So when I moved back home, dude, I applied to all kinds of different departments and agencies and trying to get in, and nobody wanted to hire a guy that wasn't certified at the time. They didn't want to pay the money to send somebody to the academy. So I worked with this electrical company up until August of 2014. And I was also umpiring baseball, like as a side gig. I love baseball. And that's where I met the police.
I used to umpire baseball too, man.
I love it, man.
Or high school?
Yeah. Little League.
Oh, okay.
So I had a blast.
Real quick, don't mention the department you work for. I suggest you don't mention.
No. I'm not. I'm okay. Definitely not.
Right.
So ended up while umpiring, I met the police chief of the department that I do work for, and he was coaching his son. And I was that umpire. Like me and the guy that umpired with, we were those guys that we didn't take it serious. Like we took it serious, but we didn't take it serious. We were there more to help the children, more to even though we were umpires, we were there kind of to mentor and coach as well. If we seen kids doing something wrong that we thought we could help because we both knew the game of baseball, we'd step in. We'd call timeout and say, hey, try this, do this, stand this way, throw the ball this way. We would just take that extra step to try to help kids better themselves in the sport. And that rang well with parents. It rang well with coaches. And I guess my police chief, seen the way that I interacted with the kids and interacted with the parents and the public, and he liked that. So a position came open at the police department, and I got tagged in the post about 150 times on Facebook because everybody knew. So I called the police chief and I said, hey, I want to apply for this position. He's like, well, you want to be a cop? I was like, yeah, I've wanted to be a cop since I got out of the service. I've just had no luck getting in with any department. So, I saw where the position was available, and I'm from Milan. So this is what I want to do. He was like, all right, cool. So he interviewed me, hired me, and August of 2014, I began my career and ended up going to the academy in October of 2014, which is a 10-week process. Loved it, had a good time. And now I've been a cop for almost 7 years. So,
and here we are now.
Now I'm on TikTok and a special guest in a firefighter's podcast.
Well, yeah, you had to say that, right? A firefighter's podcast. Yeah.
I had to. The rivalry's there.
Yep. Yep. And of course, you're sitting there drinking coffee. I'm surprised you don't have.
But I don't have donuts.
Sprinkles.
I don't have donuts. If I had some donuts, I would definitely be eating them right now because I think that would be fantastic for the podcast.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't be eating them, but man, first I want to say thank you for giving us. What a fucking story. I know there's probably a lot of places you can get a little bit more deeper into it, and there's a couple of those spots that I do want to dive into a little bit, but man, you want to talk about challenging, especially at the younger childhood. Mm-hmm. And that's where I want to actually go back to, starting when you were younger, 6, your parents divorced, and you're seeing your mother fall into this tailspin. For me, when my parents divorced at that young age, even though I didn't really 100% understand what was going on, I knew something was going on, right?
Right.
And I knew it wasn't good, but I was 6. I couldn't comprehend everything. On top of that, I had my childhood trauma happen to me around that age. So that's a different story. But while this is happening with your mother, how did you, as a child, as who you were, how did you think that affected you? Or did you realize, looking back on it now, can you realize like, wow, this shaped me to be acting this way, or this shaped me to have this kind of issue?
Um, at 6, being at that age, I'm a firm believer. Like the children that are like elementary school aged are very impressionable. So being 6 and seeing my parents go through a divorce, like I remember when they sat me down and my sister, and I knew exactly what was going to be said. I remember like it was yesterday, them saying, "Hey, we need to talk to y'all about something." And I remember saying, "Y'all are getting a divorce." And my dad was like, "Yes." At 6, I didn't know what divorce really meant, other than the way they explained it is they didn't get along and they were splitting up. We were going to have mommy's home and daddy's home. Like, we were going to have separate homes. But watching my mother go through what she went through, for me, I believe I believe that's had a big impact in my life and where I am now. When my dad took custody of me and got me away from that lifestyle, I think that's what made me, want to do good in life and not want to lead a life of partying and drugs and alcohol and everything that comes with it. In high school, I was never, I went to parties and I did all that, but I was not one that did a lot of drinking or smoking or anything like that in high school, I just didn't want to be
Yeah, I was to say, do you attribute that feeling and how you acted when you were in high school to what you saw your mother going through?
Absolutely.
So for you, it was more like I don't want to become this.
Right.
So this is why I am the way I am.
I saw firsthand what a lifestyle of drugs can do for you, and it's nothing. I saw firsthand where it can lead you, and that's to prison or jail. Being at the age I was, and I remember laying in my bunk bed, and I remember my door swinging open early morning. It was like 6 in the morning or something like that. I remember my door like swinging open aggressively, and I'm laying there in my underwear as a 6, 7, 8-year-old child. And I remember the officer coming in, seeing me laying there. Of course, I had gotten up. He swoops me up, covers me up with a jacket, and he carries me outside. And after being outside, I feel like it was really cold being outside. And then I watched my mom and her boyfriend or husband or whatever the hell he was. I watched them be pulled out in cuffs. And that right there was a lasting impression for me, and something that I'll never forget, because, to see your parent, somebody that you adore and look up to as a child, that you love, to see them being handcuffed in front of you and put in a patrol car or a squad car and carried away, it's traumatizing. It sucks. And now as a cop, anytime I'm arresting a parent or dealing with parents and there's children present, I try to take them away from that situation. I either try to remove the child from the situation or I try to remove the parent from the situation, if I'm able to do so, because I don't want to put any child through that, because no child should have to see that. It's definitely one of those things that just it sucks. It's hard to put into words of how it felt.
It's interesting with you in that you hear these stories, right, of these kids, and they're put in a situation where they have no control. You didn't have any control what your mother was doing and everything else. But like you said, it's someone that they love. It's someone that they care about. And now they're seeing the big bad cops come in and take their mom away. And what was my mom doing that was so bad that you have to take her away from me? And why are you taking me away? And it grows into this it's almost it sucks because it's like this black hole because it grows into this. Well, the cops are doing the good. You just don't see it right now because your mind at that age is clouded by love for your mother, clouded by what is real to you, what is normal to you. And when the cops come in to do their job at that young of an age and they're disrupting all of that, we hear those stories where those children now have a resentment towards the cops. Now wonder why what their parent was doing wasn't that bad. And so they start falling into it. And now they have this idea about authority, this idea about law. Well, you were able to keep away from that idea.
Yes,
and
yes.
I'm assuming it was a lot attributed to your father. Once he pulled you out, he kind of let you know what was really going on.
Mm-hmm. Yes, 100%. My dad he was very strict. He's a straight shooter. He's not one to sugarcoat anything. He's going to tell you exactly how it is, 100%. He's going to give you the 100% God's honest truth. And my dad, I mean, he told me, he explained it all to me. You know, this is the life your mother was living. This is the things your mother was doing. And even today, like he still tells me things today that I don't remember from my childhood. You know, your mother wasn't feeding you. Your mother, you know, there were times where you'd come to my house on a weekend and you would tell me that you haven't eaten in days, and, you know, just things like that. I don't remember things like that. I guess I have certain things in my life that I've just learned to block out. I don't know. But he was very, very straight and very honest with me about what she was doing, the life she was living, and the fact that he pulled me away from there. I will say it 100%. He saved my life, because if it hadn't have been for that, I can't tell you where I'd be in life right now. I definitely would be a cop. I definitely wouldn't have joined the military. I probably would have never went to college. I don't even know if I would have made it out of high school, to be honest with you. If I had have stayed with her, I think I would have fell into the same stuff that she was doing. So I think my dad pulling me away from that definitely had a huge impact on my life. I never had a resentment towards police at all either. And it was never, I don't remember that ever being a topic of conversation with me and my father. I don't remember ever growing up resenting or hating cops in any kind of way, or looking at cops in a negative manner.
So you never questioned what they did and why they did it.
I didn't. And I attribute a lot of that to my dad. Just because as I got older and I started to kind of learn and mature and realize like what she did. And then, you know, once I got to 16 and she started doing it again, is when I really started to kind of figure it out. So for me, like, obviously, I think every teenager goes through it at some point. Every child goes through it at some point where it's like, man, screw the cops, you know, and it kind of in a playful way. Like, you get pulled over or something like that, and it kind of pisses you off. But I never had a resentment towards cops. Now, when I was younger, I if you had asked me when I was 16 if I'd ever become a cop, I probably would have laughed in your face. Like, no, that would never happen. But I never had a resentment for cops. I never looked at cops in a negative way. I didn't have a reason to. I mean, I guess I did watch my mother get carried away in cuffs, but I don't know. It was never something that crossed my mind.
Well, again, like I said, the reason why I brought it up is because we do hear those stories of the children and not wonder, you know, mother, father, they're the angels. They're the ones that the kids look up to. They can do no wrong. And if they can do no wrong, then you're the bad guy for taking them away. It doesn't matter who you are, cop, whatever.
I see it every day, man. I see it every day in children. You know, I've had a girl in my daughter's class last year when my daughter was in kindergarten. I went to eat lunch with her one day, and this little girl said, "Hey, I think you arrested my daddy." And I'm there in uniform. No. You know, I'm on duty. I'd taken lunch to go eat with my daughter, and I was sitting there, and I'm like, like, this is awkward. And I didn't know what to say to that, and I'm like, and she's like, And then she said her daddy's name, and I'm sitting there going, "Yep, I've arrested your daddy," but I'm not going to put that out there. Like, this
Right.
is, but I feel like nowadays, because of everything you see on the news and everything you see on Facebook and in social media, there's a divide in the nation between cops and the public, or civil servants and the public. And I think a lot of it has to do with the media, which is why I don't really watch the news much anymore, just because it's depressing as hell to me. But kids nowadays, I think they're more so taught to hate the police or to resent the police than it's learned. So I think it starts at home. So many people do resent the police and hate the police because they had a bad experience with a cop or a couple cops.
Let's separate it, because they had a bad experience with a cop.
Exactly.
One. And I've said this a million times before, man. Do not let the minority define the majority.
Dude, I was in my live this morning talking about this exact same thing, because somebody said something. I can't remember what the question was, but I was like, look, if somebody come in there and made a comment about me being a cop, a negative comment, and I was just like, you know what? You probably had a bad experience. And if you did, that's fine. You're not going to always have great experiences with civil servants. It's just not going to happen. There's going to be negative experiences, but you can't let that negative outweigh the positive and outweigh the good, because where there's one bad cop, there's 10 more good cops to pick up the slack. You know what I mean? And that's me as a cop. That's why I try my hardest to have positive experiences with everybody I come in contact with. I try to be respectful to everybody. I don't care if you're the most hardened criminal in the world. I'm going to show you respect until you give me a reason not to. Once you show me disrespect, then the game's on. But I get told daily, even when I'm writing tickets, even if I give somebody a ticket, and nobody likes to get a ticket. Let's just be honest. I get told daily, "Wow, you're so nice. Thank you for being so nice. I know you gave me a ticket, but thank you for being nice." I mean, that's all it takes. It's if you can have that positive experience with somebody in a role of a cop authority, then you can change that person's outlook. Who's to say they didn't look negatively towards cops or public servants at one point, and then you have a good experience with them, and they're like, maybe they're not all bad. Maybe they are good people. So,
oh man, I don't know, but that's the thing, right? We have to rely on other people's experiences to change their mind, because right now it seems like the mind's being changed without even having their own personal experience, right? So they remember what the media shows you is what's hyped, what's uncommon. People think what the media is showing you is common. No, that's what news is. News is to tell you the uncommon things that are happening, because if they told you the common things every day, it'd be very boring. So when you watch the news, when you watch the media, you're seeing an uncommon circumstance happen. You're hearing a story of an uncommon circumstance, something that is extraordinary, that doesn't happen every day. That's why it's news. That's why they want to tell that story. So when you see a story of a bad apple cop or a bad apple civil servant, you have to realize that that is not the norm. That is why they're putting it out there. That's why they want to show you this. It's because it's an extraordinary experience that happened. But when that's all they show you, and they don't, reiterate that this is not a common occurrence. We're showing you this because it's not a common occurrence. When they don't reiterate that idea, people think, and it is misconstrued, that is what they're seeing is an everyday thing, is a very common occurrence, and it's not. It's not.
Exactly right. Exactly right. The media doesn't show the whole story. 99% of the time, what the media shows is maybe a quarter of what the real story is. And that's the issue that I have, is like, if you're going to put it out there for the world to see. And the media is so quick to put the negative out there more so than the positive. Dude, I can tell you 100%, there's way more positive interactions with cops than there are negative interactions with cops in the public. I see it every day. I mean, you see, glimpses on like Facebook. Somebody might post a video where a cop's playing basketball with kids out in the public, or doing this or doing that. But for every one or two positive videos that you see, you're going to see 15 to 20 negative videos that's showing something completely different. And that's the stuff that I don't like. It drives me nuts because, here I am busting my ass every day to show that cops are good people. Like, I do whatever I can every day to humanize the badge, to show, what, I'm a cop. Yes. I wear a badge. Yes. But that doesn't define me as a person. That doesn't define who I am. I define what it is to wear the badge. And that's what I tell people every day. I'm not one of these guys that puts a uniform on and it makes me better than you. It doesn't make me better than anybody. I'm still human. At the end of the day, I still come home. I lay down in a bed and I go to sleep just like everybody else. I wake up in the morning. I put my pants on one leg at a time, just like everybody else. It's like, it doesn't make me anybody else. It doesn't make me any different or any better than anyone.
We are normal people that do an abnormal job.
That's exactly right.
Or normal people doing an abnormal job. And this is going to roll us into the next part of what I wanted to get into, is that, yeah, we are normal people. We're human beings. We deal with the same day, every life struggles that everybody else deals with. We're just doing an extraordinary job. That's it. And in saying all that, when you got into, Leo, law enforcement, when you got into it and you started getting into it and you said this is something you wanted to do, during that process, when you were starting, at any point in time where you're thinking, all right, maybe this isn't exactly what I thought it was going to be?
Honestly, no. I never had any. Once I got into it, there was no doubt at all. Like, I was like, you know what? I think this is what I was meant to do.
I'm not saying any doubt. I'm not saying any doubt. Look, people don't realize. I guess maybe it's me when I ask the question. I'm not saying that you had any doubt. I'm saying that as you're going through and you're getting the training and you're starting to realize what it is exactly that you will be doing, right? When you're getting all this training and you're starting to realize, all right, this is going to be the actual job. It's not just, car chases and taking bad guys down. And no, it also involves seeing some pretty horrific things, dealing with some pretty nasty people, possibly having to help someone that you wouldn't normally help on day to day. When you start realizing that aspect of the job, you kind of go like, it's not exactly what I thought about. I mean, I'm not going to stop doing it, but it's going to be like, maybe this is going to be a little bit more challenging than I thought.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Once I got into it, and once, especially when you get out on your own, it's like, it's overwhelming at points, because you do get put into situations that you can have all the training in the world, but it doesn't prepare you for it. So yeah, there's definitely been times where I'm like, wow, this is not what I expected. This is not what I was, not what I thought I signed up for when I signed up to become a cop. So yeah, definitely.
Have you ever, through your experience, have you ever had a point in time in your career? You're fairly young in your career. You're only 7 years in, right?
Yeah.
Shit. Nowadays, you got to go at least 25 years to have a good retirement. So if you take that means you still have 17 years to go, 15, 13 years to go. Right?
Yeah,
you have 13 years to go before
I've still got some
you can
time
retire.
to go.
Yeah, exactly. So through your young career, because I've been in the fire side and the first responder side for almost ever since 2006. So 15 years now.
Okay.
In the fire EMS side. I can guarantee you that extra 7-8 years, you're going to see more stuff that you never would have thought you've ever seen in your life.
Oh yeah.
I don't think people realize that our jobs, we see the worst of the worst when it comes to the type of human beings that we deal with. I'm not even talking about what we see. I'm talking about dealing with personalities, just another human being that walks this earth. We deal with the worst of the worst, the most disgusting type of human beings out there. We deal with them all the time. Not only that, on top of that, we have to deal with what they did, what they didn't do. We have to deal with their mess. We have to clean up their mess. We have to help people that if I didn't have the uniform on, I don't know if I would have given them a second fucking look.
Dude, that's 100% honesty.
Right? And it's me being honest. It's me being honest.
Yes.
But once that uniform's on, my personal opinion about you, that doesn't matter anymore.
Absolutely.
I literally have to fight my personal opinion and my personal beliefs and morals and how I carry myself. Sometimes I have to fight that emotion of, fuck you, I ain't going to help you. Look what you just did to this person over here. Why the hell would I be helping you when you just did this to this person, or you just did this to this house, or you hurt yourself because you're acting like a dumbass and you want us to come help you? Like, in my head, if I didn't have the uniform on, I don't know if I would, man. I have to be honest. I don't know if I would. I don't know.
It's definitely a struggle. And I'm right there with you on that too, 100%. You know, it's just like the people that are constantly shouting that, you know, all cops are bad, or the ones that are constantly giving us hate and this and that. It's like, at the end of the day, you know what? If you call us, I'm still going to show up.
Exactly. Exactly. And then we see it on our social media platforms all the time. We get these haters, these people that just, you guys are shit. You guys, you know, we get it all the time too. We've been told, don't talk to the firemen. They're with the cops. Don't talk to the, you know, and we've been rocks thrown at our trucks. Just a few months ago, there was a fire truck that got shot at just because they're a freaking fire truck. Yeah. I mean, like, because we're tied to the civil service.
Absolutely.
But we're still coming. We're still coming.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Hate me, love me, agree with me, don't agree with me, live a lifestyle that I don't agree with, live a lifestyle that's totally 100% in line with me. Doesn't matter. I'm coming. I'm coming. It doesn't matter. You're a human being first. When that uniform is on, you're a human being first. As hard as it is for us to do it sometimes, that's what we do.
Yep. I couldn't agree with you more.
Through the process of you going through this 7 years in, have you ever been experienced or had started having the thoughts that, holy shit, this is affecting me a little bit more than it needs to be?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, I'm not going to ask you any specific call because I know what that question means. Right? I'm not going to ask you that because to me, I know what that question means. That question means you're asking me to relive a situation that I've been trying to forget. You're asking me to relive a situation that's giving me nightmares. I'm not going to ask you that question. But what I am going to ask you is, because even just 7 years in, I know there's something that sticks with you. I absolutely know there's something that sticks with you. My question is, what have you done to try to help yourself? Have you done anything?
I do a lot of self-reflection. I take time for myself a lot of days. I pray a lot. I'm not the most religious person in the world. But if I'm having a hard time with something or a hard time dealing with something, you know, I'm not one that's going to stray away from hitting my knees and praying, because at some point he's going to give me the answer that I'm looking for. It may not be today. It may not be tomorrow. It may not be a year from now, but he's going to show it at some point. Yeah, 7 years I'm a young officer still. I really haven't even got my feet wet to be honest, compared to some of the guys I work with. But some of the things I've seen, man, it really opens your eyes to life, period. And one thing that I've always done is I've just kind of relied on my faith and relied on God to kind of pull me through. And I'm not going to say I haven't questioned God in some of the things that I've seen and some of the things I've dealt with. Cause I definitely have. And I think if you haven't, that you're lying. But praying for me, is probably the best outlet I have. Or talking, I've met so many other first responders through social media. So being able to have an outlet to talk to if I've had a bad day or if I've experienced something that I don't feel like I can talk to just anybody, I can reach out to another cop or reach out to, a firefighter or somebody that's in civil service in some kind of way, and they'll listen because, chances are they've experienced it too. So for me, I try to talk about the things that I struggle with and the things that I've seen and dealt with. So I feel like if I keep it bottled up, I'm going to blow up. And if I blow up, it's not going to be good for anybody.
Have you ever had a point in time where you did blow up?
I have, man. I've had a couple, situations in my life where I did keep my emotions bottled up and I kept them in, and because I just felt like at that point nobody would understand what I was going through. I just felt like I didn't have that outlet or that person to reach out to. No amount of prayer was giving me the answers that I wanted or giving me anything that I needed. Just I didn't have the clarity there. And I did blow up. I mean, there's been times where, I've reached dark points in my life, especially being in law enforcement. And, at that point, I think it's friends and family that see you going through it, and they're the ones that come in and, pull you out of it. I've blown up towards my children, and, it's like it's one thing that I've struggled with in my career and in my life is always had a temper. And when I find myself, when I keep things bottled up and keep my emotions bottled up, when it all does come out, it's going towards somebody that's close to me. And a lot of times I would take that out on my children and verbally, scream or yell or cuss. And then I sit back after it's all done. I'm like, God, man, why? Like, you completely regret it immediately.
It's almost like your outburst actually now is adding to what was already wrong to begin with, because now
Yes.
you feel even more like shit for not being able to control it.
Yes.
And I want to say thank you for opening up to that and admitting to something like that, because not a lot of us like to admit that we lose control sometimes. But the idea that we do lose control, it happens, especially when we don't have the tools or the resources that we feel we want or need to get out of that space. So when we don't have those tools and we don't have that mindset, we don't have that practice, what happens is we blow up. We lose control. We are not aware of our actions and what we're doing and how it's coming out. And then when it does, just like you said, we regret immediately how it did come out. Why did I act this way? I'm better than that. I should not have done. All this aggression and everything is inside towards me, and I'm giving it to the people that I love the most. And I'm hurting these people that have nothing to do with what's going on in my head and what's making me feel like I'm feeling. Right? I appreciate you admitting something like that, because I don't think I've ever really dived into it like that. And that when we come home, whether it's the stress of the job or the stress at home or a combination of the two, if we don't have that outlet, if we don't have that healthy outlet, not a Band-Aid, a healthy outlet, it's hard for us not to. I mean, think of the human body as a soda can. We can only take so much shaking before it's just going to All it takes is a little flick of the finger for it to burst.
Yeah.
So we need to start working on, as civil service members, cops, firefighters, military, I think we need to start working on talking.
Absolutely.
Opening up. Let's open up the lid a little bit. Let some of that air out. Talk to somebody that doesn't exactly know how you're feeling, but can understand why you're feeling that way. Right? Somebody that understands where you're coming from. They're not going to know how you're feeling. They ain't you. Me and you can go through the same exact situation, but deal with it 100% differently. But I can understand that it was stressful. I can understand how you would get to that point and why you would feel that way. I wouldn't feel that way, but I can understand how you got there, which allows us, brothers and sisters in civil service, to understand somebody else when they come to us and talk to us. We listen a little bit differently. Have you ever gone to seek help to other than prayer, other than God? Have you ever gone to talk to somebody, maybe say, I might be dealing with something more than what I think it is? You ever questioned yourself on that?
I have, and I have gone beyond, friends and family. I've spoken to preachers, church members. I've spoken to psychiatrists. I know, and I've learned as I've gotten older, like, if you reach out for help, you're going to get help. Like, somebody's going to be there to help you with whatever you're struggling with. And a good friend of mine, a good outlet that I had for a while there was he's actually one of my close friends. We went to the academy together, but he's a youth pastor, or was a youth pastor in a church. And he was one that I could call if I was having a tough time. And he was also a cop. So he was there, on two different sides of the fence, I guess. He was there in a spiritual way, but he was also there in a professional way. So yeah, I've definitely reached out and asked for help, and more than just praying, or more than just trying to talk to a friend. And I feel it's important to do so. The first step in anything is admitting there's a problem. And then the second step is saying, okay, I need to get help for this problem. And if you're not willing to take those two steps, you're not going to do anything good for yourself.
There's this process that I always preach. I preach it on my lives. I preach it on the videos I make. I preach it when I talk to anybody that comes to me wanting to know how to start the process. People don't realize how strong they are ever, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've gotten countless of messages saying, I don't know how to reach out to talk to anybody. I don't think I'm strong enough to do that. And I turn around and tell them, I was like, you literally just did.
Without even knowing it.
Without even knowing it, you just reached out. You just started the conversation. Like, you didn't even realize how strong you were. You said you didn't think you were strong enough. You literally showed strength that you weren't aware of that you had, because you're too in your head right now. Your depression, whatever it is, you're too much in your head that you're not even realizing that you do have that strength. You do have the capability. And it's almost an eye opener for some, right? That just admitting to somebody else that they feel like they're not strong enough to look for help, and then that person telling them, you just did. You are stronger than you think, because you literally showed the strength you're saying you don't think you had. And it kind of gives them a little bit of a click.
Mm-hmm.
I think being able to start the conversation, right? There's 3 conversations. I preach all the time. First, conversations with yourself. Hardest conversation about all 3. The conversation with yourself, where you're looking at yourself in the mirror, you're seeing the words you've written in a journal, whatever the case may be. Really evaluating if you're okay with who you are and where you're at. Like, really fucking evaluating it. I mean, am I okay with just being okay? Is being okay, does that make me sad? Because if being okay makes you sad, that's not okay, you know?
Right.
And always constantly wanting to be happy, that's not good. If you ever met somebody that's always happy, they got a screw loose. All right? Nobody is always happy. Nobody. That means their dopamine is literally pumping 24/7. It doesn't work that way. What you're seeing as happiness is not happiness. It's contentment. It's calm. It's just being in a state of, okay, this is life. And it's okay for just it to be okay. It doesn't have to be great. It doesn't have to be happy. But at the same time, they're not allowing it to be sad and always doom and gloom. It's okay to be in the middle. It's okay to allow life to just be life. And when you admit to yourself that you're not okay with just being okay, and you're not okay with just being sad, and you always want to be happy, that you need to start realizing that maybe there's something going on. Maybe there's something going on, and you have to be okay with admitting that to yourself. That your brain might not be working correctly. Mental health is a biological issue.
Yes.
Not an emotional issue. It is a biological issue. Your brain is not firing correctly. It's giving off too much chemicals, not enough, maybe not at all. Or it's sending the chemicals to the wrong part of the brain. Okay, it's a biological issue. However, we can realize that something's not right. And we can start the process, but you have to be willing to admit it to yourself. I don't know why it's so hard to admit it to ourselves, because when we break our arms, we don't go, it ain't broken, I'm fine. You know, when we have the flu and we have a fever, you know, and we're coughing and sneezing and throwing up. Nah, it ain't the flu, I'm fine. No, we feel like shit. We're gonna go rest. We're gonna, you know, but when it comes to mental health, for whatever reason, we're told to hide it, or society. I don't know where the idea came from. Society says hide it. So when we start evaluating ourselves, we need to be okay with not having to hide it. Being
Right.
okay with going, I do have a broken arm. I need to go get it fixed. Okay. The second conversation you need to have is talking to the people that are closest to you in your life.
Mhm.
Kids, your wife, your spouse, husband, wife, your family, your friends, your co-workers, people that are around you and close to you. Let them know what's going on. Admitting that you have something going on does not mean you are debilitated. Just because you have a broken arm doesn't mean you can't walk to the store or drive or enjoy yourself. And it's the same thing with mental health. Just because you have or might have depression doesn't mean you can't have happy moments, doesn't mean you can't have good conversation, doesn't mean that you can't operate normally. It just means that every now and then you have a spout of feeling like total shit about yourself. And that's okay. That's okay. It's normal when you have depression to have those spouts. What's not okay is to stay there. But if you start having the conversation, start looking for help, you're trying to get better. So that's okay. It's okay to not be okay, just not okay to stay there, right? You need to let your people in life closest to you know where you're at. That way, if you do have one of those episodes, or if you are in that bad space, they understand that it's not them, right? Because what do people closest to you want to do when something's wrong, when something's broken, when they care about you and honestly love you? They want to try to fix you. They want to try to help you. And by helping, they try to fix. The thing with mental health is not a lot of people understand it. So they'll start saying like, well, why don't you think of it this way? Or I know it's bad here, but look how much good you have here. And that's all well and good. And they mean well, but what's good over here is not why I'm sad here right now. I need to work on this part right here. They're trying to help. But if you explain that to them, allow them to know, they can help in your healing process. They can help in understanding. And sometimes that understanding means they just shut up.
Mhm.
And they just listen. Sometimes that's what it is. And then the third conversation you need to have is with a professional. Pure and simple. Get the tools to get better. When you're sick and hurting, sure, you can go and get over-the-counter medication, right? That's like talking to your friends, praying, Those are the Band-Aids, right? But if
Yes.
you're something seriously wrong, if there's something seriously wrong and you have a virus and you need antibiotics, the only way to do that is to go to the hospital. You need to go see a professional. The only way to really, really get the tools you need to start working on yourself in a healthy manner and fix it is get the tools from a professional. Therapist, counselor, psychiatrist. Be open to being told you might have depression. Be open to being told you might suffer from anxiety. You might suffer from PTSD. You know, you might have an addiction. It's okay to admit those things to yourself. Because if you never admit it to yourself, you'll never truly work on it.
Yeah,
because then it's never really real.
That's one thing I preach to, especially like drug addicts, alcoholics, guys that are trying to recover, guys that are trying to go through rehab and things like that. And I see this daily. I'm in a program with our department, with our courts. It's a drug court, like kind of rehabilitation program or whatever. I see guys fell out of it all the time because they don't truly want it. You know, they're there because the courts have put them there. They're not there because they really want to make a change. And I tell these guys, like, look, you dictate what happens here in this program. Nobody else dictates what happens here. If you want to change, you have to want that change. You've got to admit to yourself that first off, you've got a problem. You've got a drug problem. You've got an alcohol problem. You've got a problem. Second off, you've got to admit to yourself that, hey, I've got this problem and I need help for this problem. I want to change my life. You know, I've got kids. I got family members that rely on me. I got friends that rely on me. I got a job that relies on me. Something relies on me to be there. And I can't be there if I'm continually fucking up with drugs and alcohol in my life. And third, after you admit these two steps, you got to take the proper steps to get the care and the help that you need. And that's, you know, talking to somebody like you said. So, you know, I definitely understand where you're coming from with all that. And I agree with you 100% because I tell people this every day. You've got to admit it, you've got to want it, and you've got to do it.
Absolutely. How do you think your department is dealing with their guys on the streets and when it comes to their mental health? How do you think they're handling it? Are they kind of like being like, hey, if you think you have a problem, here's the EAP number. Don't let me know. Or is it like, let's have some CISDs let's sit and talk about it. Let's get a little bit more in depth. Or it's kind of like, only bring it up if you feel like you need to bring it up.
Yeah, kind of only bring it up if you feel like you need to bring it up. I mean, so our police chief and the guys that are higher up, like, they're pretty good at if they see that something is, you know, out of whack, somebody's work performance has been it's been up here, top of the game, and then all of a sudden it's down here, middle of the road or bottom of the barrel. You know, they'll step in. Hey, what's going on? There's something going on. You know, what can we do to help? And we do have counseling services through our city that are it's completely anonymous and it's free of charge. You know, the city pays for it.
EAP, an employee assistance program.
Yes. And our chief will recommend that to a lot of guys if he sees that there's an issue or a problem. Hey, look, why don't you go? You know, you can use it at any point. It's all anonymous. Nobody's going to know you're there. I'm not even going to know you're there. But it's there for you, you know, to take advantage of. So I'm not going to say they don't completely ignore the problems of mental health. But a lot of times I feel like it may not get brought up unless it becomes an issue. You know what I mean?
Which I find funny because if you twist an ankle on the job, they make you jump through 15 different hoops, go to like 4 different doctors, make sure that you're 100% written off. The doctor's going to release you back to work. You can't come back to work until you get that release note. Don't come back to work until you get that release note. But when it comes to mental health, it's like, don't say nothing and you can keep working. Just don't say nothing. Right.
And
so
I mean,
like,
there are times
Do you see what I'm saying? How?
Oh yeah, I do, absolutely. And there are times where if it's like a big enough issue, they'll say, "Hey, we're stepping in. You're going to get help. It's not an option. You're going to do this for your mental stability. You're going." Then a lot of times it's like, okay, we're going to suggest you go get help, but whether you go get help or not, that's on you.
Right. And that's where I'm finding it funny. Like, I understand if you had to return fire, right? I know that a lot of departments have a policy that they'll take you off. You're on paid leave. You have to go see and talk to somebody, and that person has to say, like, yeah, they're good. They're not affected. They can come back to work. Right. So you get your release note from the doctor. But that's only on those high, huge stress situations all the time.
Yes.
And instead of having those yearly physical exams, instead of, like, we have to have yearly physical exams. A lot of departments do it. A lot of departments have, for your insurance, have to do little blood tests every now and then. You have to make sure your diabetes, if you're diabetic's in check, your blood pressure is good. You have a yearly checkup, right? And usually the city pays for it. But there is no yearly mental health checkup.
No.
None whatsoever. We're not always affected by just the big calls.
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
So it's hard to say, man. It's hard to say, like, how do you get a department or an entity to say, we would like for you to talk to a counselor at least once a year. Just let us know that you're good. Let us know that you're okay. Get a write-off and send it in. Hell, we do it for our physical health. Why aren't we doing it for our mental health?
And I feel like that's probably the case for most departments nationwide.
Oh, it is. It very much. I don't know of any department, be it first responder, cop, firefighter, EMT. I don't know any on the first responder side. I'm not too familiar with the military. I do know sometimes they'll put them through different mental evaluations, depending, if they promote, they got to do a psych eval and everything else.
Right.
But on the civil service side, on the civil service side, on the first responder side, I don't know of any department that has like a yearly, hey, you guys go talk to this person for 30 minutes, whatever. Give them an idea. Let us know. Let a professional let us know that you're good. You don't have to talk. They don't tell them what you talked about. They don't tell them if you're not, but they just give a suggestion. I think this person might need to talk to somebody. They don't need to be pulled off the truck, but they might need a little bit more help.
Right.
Or something.
Yeah, I agree.
Something.
I agree.
But we don't have that now. We don't have that.
And I guess, for me, like I never even really thought of it that way, to be honest with you, until you brought this up. They, the physical checks are always there and required and this and that, but nobody really, it's like mental health is kind of almost pushed to the back. And I've got a friend on TikTok he's a cop and he's out in North Carolina. He actually started this thing, a few months back called Watch Your Six. And he sent bracelets out. I got one of his bracelets, but it says Watch Your Six. And it's basically diving into mental health because so many people in civil service, first responders, cops, firefighters, EMTs, so many people do battle with depression or anxiety or PTSD in some shape, form, or fashion, but they don't feel like they have an avenue to reach out to because the issue's not pressed.
Right. It's totally reliant upon yourself to go get the help. And sometimes it's easier to know when that help's immediately available, right? Mm-hmm. Look, I was told about the EAP when I got hired. Unless there was a death within the department and somebody needed to talk, then they'll put an email. Hey, guys, remember we have an EAP.
Right.
It's like maybe we should have more reminders about here's some help, more avenues for your civil service members, the people that are protecting your city, to have some mental health help, right? We don't push the issue because it's taboo. It's taboo to talk about. Let's be honest. It's taboo. It's uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Nobody wants to hear that this person suffering from depression Everybody like sticks away from them or talks about them behind their back. Why? Why is it such a big deal? When something good happens to somebody, we want to run in and be like, "Hey, congratulations, man! That's awesome!" Blah blah blah. When someone has depression, we all back away from that person. Oh, let's leave him alone. He's sad, but I don't want to bother him.
He's really going through some things. Yeah.
When people with depression, they want to hear that people actually give a shit. Somebody understands. The majority of the time, that's what people with depression really are looking for. Mm-hmm. They're looking for somebody to understand, somebody to talk to. They need to know that there's an outlet and that they're not stuck. Because right now in their head is that they are stuck. There's no way out of this. Their feelings and emotions are defining who they are. And if you don't allow them or share with them and tell them, hey, here's an outlet. When you're so defeated, you almost don't even want to try because you're afraid of just another failure, another defeat. And that's why we started what I started, the What Makes Us Fire Foundation. We're giving another avenue.
Yes.
We're giving another avenue. More than just your EAP. More than just a facility dedicated to civil service. There is that. The IAFF has the Center of Excellence for all first responders. You can go. They hired counselors and therapists that are specially trained in talking with first responders, which is huge because I've gone to a therapist, and as a first responder, the first 10 minutes of our conversation started crying. The therapist started crying. I'm like, bitch, no. I'm supposed to be crying.
That's me. Yeah.
That's me. You're supposed to be helping me. And so you have to it's hard to find therapists and that really understand sometimes. Right. That really understand how our minds work. So the What Makes Us Fire Foundation is trying to get rid of as much of the red tape as possible, in that if you, Gray, bro, if you want to go find help where you find it. You are not limited to what your insurance is going to cover. You are not limited to what the city can and cannot afford. You're not limited to what you can or cannot afford. You're not going to be limited in being away from work while you're getting treatment. That's not going to limit you, because the foundation's going to take care of you. The foundation's going to help you with the direct cost of that treatment. The foundation's going to take care of your family while you're in that facility. You got a house note, you're off of work for a month. Sure, you're on workman's comp, but you only get like 60 to 70% of your baseline paycheck as a civil servant when you're on workman's comp. And most of us civil servants and first responders, you're either working an extra job or as much overtime as you freaking can just so you can afford the bills, right? I couldn't afford to go because I needed to work overtime. I needed to work my second job, right? I didn't have, if I would have went, my family would have suffered. So I don't want that to happen to anybody else. So we're going to take care of your family. You got a house note? We got you. You got a car note? We got you. Your family needs groceries while you're getting taken care of yourself? We got them. They're going to be taken care of. Go take care of yourself. Become better for you and for you first. You become better for you first, because when you're 100% good with you, for you, by you, you can be good for everyone else in your life. Right? And that's what the foundation is.
Truer words have never been spoken.
So, and I always say the only person holding you back becoming the best you can be is you. Mm-hmm. Nobody else is holding you back. Nobody. Are there blocks put in the road by other people? Sure. But you have to choose to bust through those blocks. You have to choose. That some people might make it more difficult than others, but it's still up to you. It's nobody else but you.
Right. Dude, 100%. Could not agree more.
And saying all that, sorry, I got on my soapbox there.
No, you're good, man. You're good. I'm here for it, bro.
I'm very, very frustrated with our cities and our departments and our the first responder realm and the military realm. I'm upset with the lack of difference I'm not going to say I'm upset with the lack of effort. I'm seeing effort. I see that they built the facility. I see that they're offering this. They're offering that. They started peer support training. They started all these things. I'm seeing effort. I'm not seeing fucking results. In 2019, more firefighters died by suicide than by line of duty. To be in the civil service realm, you're 10 times more likely to develop a mental health disease than the general public. So for every one person in the general public that goes and actually gets a diagnosis of depression, there's 10 people in civil service that same day that got diagnosed with depression. 10 to 1 for a mental health disease. For every one person that commits suicide in the general public, there are 4 civil service members that committed suicide. Those numbers, all of them, both on the general public and civil service, suck. They need to come down. But I'm concentrating on the civil service because they are way too damn high.
Yeah, I agree.
So you coming on the show, you sharing your point of view, you being open to what you had to deal with and what you did to come over that, how you seeked help. Right? It's different than the way I did it. It's different. It helped.
Mm-hmm.
There's no one way to help. There's so many avenues, but I think people feel stuck because maybe there is so many avenues and maybe it's just very confusing, or maybe they just don't even know the avenues exist. I don't know.
Absolutely.
I don't know. But you coming on shows that you support the idea. You sharing and talking about it and opening yourself up shows that you're with it. Let's kill this fucking stigma about talking about it. It should not be a taboo conversation. It shouldn't be a taboo conversation. It should be a normal conversation that we can have with anybody and not feel afraid to be ridiculed or looked at differently. We should be able to tell people, I have something wrong. I'm working on it. You don't have to treat me any different. But I want you to know that if you start seeing me in this place, I'm okay. I'm working on it. We should not have to hide our mental health illness. Because it's an illness. It's a disease.
Mm-hmm.
But it can be fixed. We can work on it. You just have to be willing to. You have to be willing to talk about it. We have to be willing to just make a conversation like this normal. You know how much advice we give to our friends and family when they're having an issue? How easy it is. Yeah. Hey, did you try that? Why don't you try that? Bro, that was stupid. Why'd you do that? You should have done that. Like how easy it is for us to have those conversations about anything else. About anything else. You fell out of a tree and broke your arm? You dumbass. Like you've been having this issue and you haven't reached out yet. You fucking dumbass. What's wrong with you? Reach out. We should be able to talk to each other like that about mental health. We should be.
Absolutely.
We should be. It shouldn't be taboo. I should be able to joke with you about my depression. I should be able to make fun of it. But instead, people are too afraid. It's too touchy. I don't want to hit a button. Okay, if you hit a button, I'll let you know. But it's right. Don't treat me like I'm completely broken. I'm not fragile.
Yeah, just because you suffer with depression or anxiety or PTSD, it doesn't change who you are as a person.
Exactly.
You're still the same person that you are. It's just you're struggling and going through something that somebody may not understand. But don't treat me any different just because I go through this. It's like, damn, I'm still the same person I was yesterday, and I'm going to be the same person tomorrow that I am today. So
I'm just trying to fix a part of me that might be a little bit busted up right now. That's all I'm trying to do. And it's okay. Gary, I keep calling you Gary. I keep switching the A and the R.
It happens. It's cool.
Great. Brother, I want to say thank you for opening up. letting us into your past, letting us into the demons that you dealt with and fought with and how they came out and what you did to overcome them and having the conversation. So for that, man, I respect you 110%. Thank you. You're talking to somebody that you're still getting to know, and you were still open and willing to talk about it. And it's crazy how people are open and willing to talk about it with a complete stranger. But I think it's because we're in the civil service and we can kind of understand each other on that level that it makes it a little bit easier, right? Because we can say, hey, dumbass, you have depression, go get help. You know,
we have a connection. We have a connection. It's like, and this is what I tell people, you guys don't understand. Like, I can connect with another cop or a firefighter or somebody in civil service that I've never met before because we deal with the same shit in some shape, form, or fashion. We deal with the same shit. So, like, I talked to you for the first time on the phone, last week. We talked for 20 or 30 minutes, agreed to do this podcast. And it's like, I mean, I feel like I've known you forever now after talking with you for a couple hours here, 20, 30 minutes there. But it's like, we get each other. It doesn't matter where you come from in life. As first responders, we all get each other, which is crazy, you know, because I've met so many people from social media and TikTok that are cops, firefighters, EMTs. And it's like, you just feel like you can talk to them about anything because you guys go through the same shit in some shape, form, or fashion. We go through the same shit every day.
Yep, absolutely. It makes it a little bit easier. I always said that you can get first responders from around the world even, right? Put them in the same room, never met each other. 5 minutes in, there's going to be conversations happening all around that room.
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
If that. Everybody's going to just start talking. One person's going to crack the damn joke. Somebody's going to fart out loud. It's going to break the ice, and then there it goes. Right? Again, thank you, bro. I'm going to go ahead and flip script here. We're going to go into a little bit lighter subject real quick. What the hell possessed you to get on TikTok? I mean, come on. What? Bro, what are you? What? Late 20s, early 30s?
Mid 30s. I'm 35.
Mid 30s. Okay, you're 35. Okay, yeah, me and you are the same age. So we're 35 years old, right? I got on TikTok literally right after I turned 35. I think in July, April, somewhere. I got on TikTok. I turned 35 in June. So I haven't even been on TikTok that long, right? 35 years old. But see, I had an excuse. I had a podcast going. And for me, it was another social media outlet. 100% honesty. I was going to use it for the sole purpose of promoting the podcast. That was going to be the sole purpose for all my social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and then TikTok. I stayed away from TikTok as long as I could. But I got on TikTok, and sole purpose of promoting the podcast. Did not think it was going to turn into what it did, but it did. And we'll get into that later because I'm more interested as to why Gray, a 35-year-old cop, military veteran, decided to get on this social media app where I'm pretty sure I may have seen you dance in a couple of these videos.
Yeah. I do that. No, so I've always been like a big social media guy. There's a girl at my department. Me and her for a while there, we were making these videos on Snapchat and posting them to Facebook. And a lot of these videos were getting a lot of views and a lot of feedback, because we were just being silly and being goofy. And then I had I've had a couple of videos that went viral on Facebook in the last couple of years, I guess. Well, people in my community have, like, they know me. I live in a small community where everybody kind of knows everybody, and me being a cop, like, everybody knows me. So I had a lot of people once TikTok. I didn't even know what TikTok was until like June or July of last year. No idea. I started seeing TikTok videos on Facebook, and I'm like, what the hell is this? So then I downloaded the app initially, and I wasn't downloading it to post content. I was just downloading it to watch videos. So I downloaded the app. I started watching videos. I was like, man, this is hilarious. There's some funny stuff on here. And then I started rolling across some of the cops of TikTok: Kingery, Cortese, I think I pronounced that right. I don't know. Udi, Udi Scales, just to name a few. And I was like, man, this seems pretty cool. Like, okay. And then I had some people in the community saying, hey, you need to start making TikTok videos. I think you'd be good at it. I think you'd be, you'd make some good content, some good stuff. So I decided, hey, I'm going to try this out and try my hand at it and jump in on it. So August of last year, I decided to start making videos and making content, and my account blew up quick. I think I hit 1,000 followers within the first day, 10,000 followers within like the first week, 20,000 followers within like 3 weeks, and it just kept going and kept going. I didn't start dancing on TikTok till probably like in October or something. I think I posted one video dancing or something, and everybody was like, "Oh crap, this white boy can dance." So then I just started like, more of the TikTok dances would come out. I'd learn them and do them and post them and whatnot and have a good time. But I did it more along the lines as it was another way for me to put myself out there as a good cop, to humanize the badge, to show the human side of police officers. And I try to promote positivity. I'm a very positive person. I'm a very happy person. So I try to use my social media platform and my outlet to promote that, and to promote positivity in any way I can, because I feel like if I'm being positive and I'm showing positivity, somebody could be having a bad day. They can come into one of my lives, or they can watch one of my videos and be positively impacted by that. And it's been shown. I mean, there's been times where I've wanted to quit the app and just be done with it and throw it away because of the hate and the trolls and stuff like that. And then I get messages out the ass from people that follow me, from my family, as we talked about, telling me, hey, your videos, your lives, your content is what gets me through the day. Your positivity is what makes me have a good day. I look forward to seeing your videos every day. I look forward to coming into your lives every day. And when you start getting messages like that from people that don't know you other than what they see on TikTok, man, it's like, wow, like, okay, so what I do on this app is really affecting people the way that I was hoping it would. So that's, I didn't start TikTok with any real goal in mind. I didn't start TikTok with the goal of like reaching a certain amount of followers, and I still don't have a goal. I just do it because it's fun. It's kind of an escape from reality. It's kind of my release, I guess you could say. I used to play a lot of video games. Now I TikTok. I mean, it is what it is. I don't know. It's a good time.
I know that because I used to play a lot of video games too, and now it's it's TikTok. The thing is, this app, and it's crazy, right? Because I think it started off as Musical.ly.
Yes.
And then it was just so you can lip sync to songs and dance and be goofy. And I think it was really pushed towards teenagers. Really.
It was. Yeah.
And I got on and realized that, look, TikTok has its issues with its guideline policy and everything else. Like everybody knows that. But it's a free platform. It's a free fucking platform. They offer it to you. Hell, you get enough subscribers and family, they'll even pay you a little bit, right?
Right.
And you didn't even do anything. So for them to quote unquote shadow ban or ban, look, you're on a free freaking app. You can bitch about it all you want. If you ain't paying to be on it, you don't get a say on how they run it.
Right.
And it sucks. I get it. And shit, I've bitched about it, but I have to sit back and be like, it's free. I didn't create it. It's not mine. I'm just a part of it.
Yep. Absolutely.
So I as much as I want to just stick the necks of the people in TikTok, whoever's creating the guidelines and how they enforce them, just you stupid. Yeah. But we found this way to connect with people, and I noticed that there's different aspects of TikTok. Like their algorithm, whatever it is, fucking works. Because crazy. I have met some of the best people through this social media app I have ever met. Like,
oh, dude, yeah, friends. I agree.
I mean, like, like Pops, Pedro, Pops
Oh, yeah.
951, him and L
Mhm.
have become very, very close friends.
Mhm.
Sir Lancelot, Fiegel,
Mhm.
Odin, Odin's Raven, Morgan Mott, Officer Scales was on the podcast last week. Oh, his episode dropped yesterday, actually, on the podcast, and he was he was at Kingry's house.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was at Kingry's house, and he was like, "Yeah, man, I can pull away from them in the morning." And we did it early morning, man. Like I was in the What Makes Us Fire black couch. You're laughing tells me you and I both enjoy the same adult entertainment. Anyway, but yeah, he was sitting there, and after our interview and everything, Udi comes in, and I talked to Udi. I was like, "Hey, man, what's up? Would you like to be on the podcast?" He was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Cool." All right, bye.
Sure.
Yeah, well, I just got done having this, almost 2-hour long conversation with Scales and stuff. So I'm sure Scales is going to let him know how it went and everything. And Kingry,
absolutely.
fucking Kingry. If he hears this, I hope he hears this. I don't know what the hell his deal is, man. He was doing so good. We were going back and forth on the text messages. We were like, "Hey, yeah," and he was just like, "Yeah, Thursday works." Blah blah blah. Like he was supposed to be on after you, I think at 2 p.m. my time, right? And he was supposed to come on. And I was like, "Okay, so how does Thursday at 2 p.m. sound?"
Crickets.
I still haven't heard back from him. This was Friday of last week. Still haven't heard back from him. So yeah. But it's been like that with Kingry. Kingry's a hard man to tie down.
Kingry's he's a busy dude. He's a busy guy.
Yeah, he is. Shit, even Udi took the time to come fucking say hi to me when I had Scales on. I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah, Udi's a busy dude.
Yeah, what they got going on and what they are creating and how.
Oh yeah,
the three of them, man. It's gonna blow up big. It is.
Yeah, Udi and Kingry and Scales were probably three of the first cops that I started following on TikTok. And Kingry started following me pretty quick. I do edit a few of his videos, and he pretty much followed me immediately. And then me and Kingry kind of developed like a friendship on TikTok or whatever. And then Udi and Scales, they both started following me pretty recently. And Scales, he pops into my lives from time to time. I go into his lives, and then Udi, he'll come into my lives every so often. But no, all three of those guys are like, you couldn't ask for better people. Just people, you know what I mean? Like just people and period.
Human beings.
And
human beings.
Yes.
Take away the badge. Take away social media.
Yeah. You just can't ask for three better guys. I mean, those dudes are all down to earth. They're very humble from where they've come and where they are in life and the things that they have and things that they get. And it's nice to see that.
Speaking on
as
that,
you
go ahead.
No, as you were saying, like that, the app, man, is the connections you make. Because I had no idea. I was on this app for like a month or two, and then started seeing some of these connections that I was making with people. And then it was like, all right, we're having a TikTok meetup in Nashville, Tennessee. Peacock. Well, back then I wasn't Peacock. I was gscott_1985. And they're like, hey, G Scott, come to Nashville. We want to meet you. We want you to be a part of this meet and greet and meet up. And so I go and I meet all these great cops, and some of these guys have become my best friends, that I talk to on a daily basis. So it's crazy. I had no idea that TikTok was going to open avenues it has for me and give me some of the relationships and friendships that I've developed from it. Like I had no idea it was possible.
What I want to ask is, during your process through all this, when did you realize what you're putting out there was actually bigger than you? Like it was more than just for you. You're still doing it for you, right? You're still doing it for you because it feels good and you like what you do, but it became bigger than you. When did that hit you?
I think once let's see, when did, I'd say probably like after the new year, once my account really started to move and blow up, is when I started to feel like, this is becoming something more than what I anticipated. This is that's when the messages started rolling in about how I was affecting, my followers' lives in a positive way. And that's when I started realizing, okay, the content that I make is uplifting and it's bringing joy to people's lives. It's not just because I want to do it. It's not because it makes me happy, but now my content is making you happy. It's making you happy. It's making this person happy, that person happy. I would say probably after the new year, because that's when my account really started to blow up. I mean, I gained from the end of January to the beginning of March, I gained almost 90,000 followers or 80,000 followers or something like that.
And everybody listening, know that when we say followers, it's just easier to say followers, right? We understand that you hit that little red follow button. We understand that you did that. And you're telling us what we have put out there is worth your time, and we respect, and it does not go unappreciated.
I'm so grateful, and I say this all the time, but I'm so grateful and thankful for the followers that I have, the family that I've built on TikTok. The fact that I've got 142,000 people that like what I do and are interested in the content that I put out. I mean, it speaks volumes. And one thing that I've tried to do, especially over the last couple months, I'd say probably 2 or 3 months. One thing I try to do, and I've kind of slacked on it here lately because it is hard, but I try to respond to every comment I get on my videos, whether it's saying thank you or, writing a little message back. But I try to respond to everybody just to let them know, hey, I see you. I'm here for you. Like, thank you. You're taking the time to comment on my stuff. Like, I'm going to take the time to let you know that I see it and acknowledge you more so than just liking it. But I have found that as the account gets bigger and the following gets bigger and the comments grow and grow and grow, like, it's really hard to keep up with it. But I've always tried to do my best to respond to everybody, to set myself apart from, other creators on the app. I respond to all my messages. If I get messages, it may take me a while because I do get a lot of messages throughout the day. But I do respond to all my messages. I don't know. I try to stay humble and everything and with the app and everything that comes from the app. And, I try to let people know that I do appreciate them, and I appreciate all my followers, and I try to let them know that as much as possible. So,
have you thought about maybe turning this influence that you have and that you've created into something a little bit more than what it is, other than just maybe being an advocate or something? Maybe starting a nonprofit. It's the one I fall back on because that's what I ended up doing, right? And I'm not even near your numbers, your influential number, right? Your outreach. I'm not even near that. But I knew and I had an idea and I saw it was growing. So I figured, let me start the idea now. And that way, when more people come in, they know what they're coming into.
Right.
What Makes Us Fire is a family. I always tell people, like, this is not a follow for follow when I'm on live. I always tell them, I was like, look, I'm going to give you my opinion on this person, but if you're uncomfortable, you don't have to follow them. Right? Like, you don't have to become a part of their family. I'm suggesting you do it. I'll never tell, hey, pick them up. I get why people do that. I have no problem with it. I get why we do that, right? We want to build that community. We want to start getting that more outreach, and I have no problem with people doing that. But for me, concentrating on mental health, I don't want anybody to do anything that they feel uncomfortable with.
Right. Absolutely.
Right? So if this person looks at this person is like, oh, that guy looks a little creepy, or his videos are a little bit weird, I don't know if I want to follow him, but Josh said he was cool. Don't follow him. You don't have to, you don't have to. It's okay. Like, that's what it is for me. Do you think or have you had an idea, like Blue Line PD is out there now, right? That's fairly new. It's like a new project that's being built with a bunch of police officers on the app, like Lance or Lancelot's on it. And then I know, like the Ride Along crew, they're starting to build something. And I'm wondering if you are thinking of maybe trying to build something to maybe get more of an outreach. So instead of just being an advocate, instead of just talking, now you're going to be able to provide an actual something too on top of it. Like you're going to be able to add on more of what you're already doing.
So I've got a group of guys that I've become really close with over the last couple months on TikTok. And we've all started like a group chat together. It's myself, JB _1223, Chad Tastic, Adam 1217, J Howe 5101, I think is his name. And then Salty Ralty, who's a firefighter here in Tennessee as well.
Salty, yeah.
All of us are over 100,000 followers. But we've all developed this huge bond especially over the course of the last, like, I'd say month. And, we're all very positive creators. We're all we promote positivity. We're all very, what's the word I'm looking for? Responsive to our followings. And we're all there for one another. We've developed this bromance. We call ourselves the bench warmers now. But we've talked about, about creating, some kind of podcast or something, just to get ourselves out there. We've started going live on Instagram, like doing 4-way lives on Instagram. And we found that people love it because of our personalities, because we just get on there and have conversations. It's just, we interact with the people that come in there as well. But a lot of it is just us literally just being us and having a conversation and talking. So we've talked about creating a podcast and possibly, not necessarily a ride along, but, doing meetups and meet and greets and stuff like that to meet our followers. And, that way people can get to know us on a personal level more so than just what they see on the app. So, as far as like a nonprofit, I haven't thought of that. No.
So since you guys haven't thought of it, I'm going to put this out there for you guys. What Makes Us Fire is creating a peer support group. We also are creating a mentorship program, and we're creating motivational speaking events where large creators like yourself that are in the civil service will come with a panel of 3 or 4 other creators, talk to people in a room, tell them your story, talk about it. Obviously it's going to be mental health forward, right? Because we want to kill the stigma. But then, like, towards the end, once everybody's done their own introduction and their own story, at the end of it, it's going to be a panel live Q&A, not via web, but somebody's going to walk up to the microphone and be able to ask you a question. And then afterwards, it's an actual meet and greet. And of course, all the proceeds are going to go to the foundation, which is there to help other civil service members get the help they need with their mental health. So if that's something you guys are actually already thinking about, why not do it for your brothers and sisters in the civil service? And I'm not saying commit yourselves to it. Still go do your own thing, right? Still go do your own thing. But this would be an avenue that you guys can use to not only promote what you guys are trying to do for yourselves, but also help a nonprofit grow as well. So
I see what you're saying.
We want it for a little bit, talk to the guys a little bit. I've been trying to get Salty on the damn podcast, but he was too busy trying to get in with the Ride Along crew. Did you see that? I felt bad for him a little bit. I did. I felt bad for him a little bit because he was the only firefighter there, I think.
Yeah. No. Jimmy Jones.
No. Jimmy Jones was there. That was right.
Yeah.
But like every time they were doing something, he was like in the background filming it. And I'm like, dude, get in there, bro. Get in there. Get in there, man. Go. I don't know. I don't know if they ragged on him for being a firefighter. I'm sure they did. But yeah, I know. Salty's a good guy. He's a great guy. He does a lot of his lives in front of his fire truck. I'm like, okay, all right, we get it, woo woo. I'm kidding. And just giving another firefighter shit. Salty, brother, I love you, man. Just giving you shit.
Salty's a great dude.
He is. But yeah, man, think about it. I think you and the guys that you mentioned earlier can definitely, instead of just advocating and, sharing an idea, I think you guys can actually offer more.
Yeah.
I think you can, because right now you're offering a different type of public service. And when you have the uniform on, obviously we know the public service that you're giving.
Right.
But when you go live or you make that video that touches people's hearts, you're giving hope, which is another, believe it or not, it's another civil service. You're helping people in a different way.
Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with what you got going on and with the influence you have, you guys can do more. And I always, always, always recommend everybody that comes on to the show that really contemplate and think about doing more, because you can. You can. I know you can. You're a good fucking guy. You're funny. You're a cop. You're a civil serviceman. You advocate for the right things. You're not doing it for the wrong reasons. You're not doing it for notoriety. You're not doing it for money. You're just doing it because you genuinely want to help. You genuinely want to tell people there is hope. You're genuinely trying to humanize the badge. You're not doing it for money, notoriety, fame. You're just doing it because you believe in it. You're being yourself and you're capitalizing on you being you instead of being a character or being an idea. You're being who you are, and you're capitalizing that who you are can make a difference. And that's huge. Not a lot of us sometimes have to create a persona. A lot of us sometimes have to create a quote unquote shtick and have to stick to it. And it's very rare that you find somebody that doesn't have one thing, one shtick that's all they are. And that's all they have to sell, quote unquote. Mm-hmm. You're being who you are as a human being and helping people. You don't have to act or change anything. And a lot of these creators that I have on are those type of people. When they see you in your videos, when they see you on your live, they're seeing you. You're not acting.
Right.
You're not forcing. You're being you. Right. And that affects people. And that's huge. You guys can definitely make a bigger change together, I think. And I would love to help you with it. And I'd love for you guys to help us. I think we could help each other make a change.
Absolutely.
I'm going to start winding it down, brother. We've been going for almost 2 hours, which, believe it or not the longest podcast yet. My longest was with Pedro Pops.
I can imagine that dude can talk.
Yeah, and we talked about it. We talked about it the other day, right? It's like, I love Pedro to death. I love him to death. But he will tell you the same thing 4 different ways.
Yes,
4 different ways.
Freaking
Pedro, I love you, bro. Pops, if you all don't know him, it's Pops, POPZ_951. If you ask him a question, he's going to definitely make sure you understand what he's trying to say. He will say it. He will say the same thing 4 different times using all different words while he says it.
Yes. 100%.
Yeah. Love him to death.
Pops left a lasting impression on me when I met him in Nashville. I got to meet him in Nashville at the meetup. He came. And he came as kind of like a special kind of guest. It's like a surprise. Not a lot of people knew he was coming. There was only a handful of us that knew he was coming. He showed up, and dude, me and him, we drank a glass of whiskey together. He brought one of his, famous bottles of whiskey with him. Right. We had a glass of whiskey together. We shared some memorable moments with each other. And then me, him, Officer Ant-Man, Officer Prince, we all sat down in a room together one night. And dude, we had like a little powwow, so to speak, and kind of a little therapy session amongst each other. And we each kind of told our stories and where we came from and who we are and how we got to where we are in life. And Pedro did something that left a lasting impression on me. He's from a Hispanic culture. And in their culture, they give things personal to them as gifts. It may not be worth a lot of money or worth any money, but because it's personal to them, it's something meaningful, right? So one thing that's personal to Pedro is his jewelry and the rings and bracelets and stuff that he wears. That night he had 4 rings on. He had a ring on each finger. that night he took each ring off and gave me one, gave Ant-Man one, gave Prince one, and gave KD one. And I still have it. Like I'll always cherish it. And then he explained why he was doing it. And it was like, we all shared tears. Like we all cried, grown ass men, and we're all in there crying. But it was just a meaningful moment. It's like, you know, this guy is giving me a piece of him right now. And that's where mine and Pedro's brotherhood started and began. And, you know, he's one of those guys at any given point, I can call him with anything on my plate, and he'll be there, you know, to listen, to offer advice, to give me his point of view. And it's like, I don't know. I just listen to the dude talk forever, for days, just because he's freaking.
And he will talk forever and for days.
Oh, he will. He will. If you give him that opportunity, he's gonna talk to you for as long as you'll let him. So, but no, Pedro is amazing. He's an amazing human being. He's an amazing creator on the app, and he's one of those guys that I'm extremely thankful for that I've gotten to know. So,
yeah, and that falls back into the whole crazy how we meet these people, brothers,
dude, it's insane.
Friends. Like me and you, man, we've been talking like we've been friends before.
Oh, absolutely. Really, like we've met.
Yeah. We literally had a 20-minute phone conversation before all this.
Yep.
You know? And
yeah, that's what's insane. Is like, you know, that's what I was saying earlier. It's you meet people from all walks of life, but because we work in civil service, even though we don't work together and we've never met, it's like we've obviously come together and we have a brotherhood. And we have a conversation like we've known each other for years.
Yeah, it's crazy. I fucking love it though.
I do too. I'm here.
I love coming on to. I love having guests on the podcast that I don't really know. You know, having a 10, 15-minute conversation, because then as we're talking and learning about each other, the audience they feel that. You know, so now they're learning about you just like I'm learning about you, and it's raw. It's not staged. You had no idea what I was going to bring up. The only thing I told you is I like to tell people how I got you on the show, and we go a little bit into your background. That's the only thing I told you.
Yeah.
Everything else has just been us conversing.
Like I didn't know any of the questions that were going to be asked. I didn't know. It's just but that's the good thing about podcasts, and that's the good thing about podcasts like this is I don't want a podcast that they're going to send me a list of questions that I can prepare for. I think it's better if it's raw, because, you know, then you're giving like a legit, honest answer rather than rehearsing for it 2 or 3 days prior. And I've been on podcasts like that where they send you a list of questions that they're going to ask you. And it's like, I don't feel like I'm being genuine at that point. You know, I feel like if you go to a podcast and it's all, you know, they're asking you on the fly and you have to really think on your feet, and then at that point you're being genuine, and people that listen to this can understand and you know, get to know you.
Yeah, they get a better idea of how your thought process works, the kind of person you are, and stuff like that. And that's what I love about this forum too. So, but saying all that, I want to say thank you, because I'm going to start winding it down. I want to say Thank you for sitting with me. Thank you for allowing me to take up, you know, 2.5 hours of your time. I appreciate you opening up the way you did. I appreciate you listening to my side of the story and kind of giving you a different point of view maybe you haven't heard before. And allowing me to listen to your point of view, because like I said earlier, you hit on something that I was like, well, yeah, I didn't, you know, it's cool that you're saying that, because that's a point of view I haven't heard before. And to me, it's those kind of things that are going to start opening up that conversation. It's going to start making it more normal when we start hitting on all the possibilities, right? We get all these different points of views that people start realizing, well, my point of view, it's unique to me, but it's not that unique in the grand scheme of things. And so there is a way for us to get that help, because we think that our problems are just so insurmountable that we cannot get out from underneath them. But this person did, and they had the same type of things going on. So it is possible. It is possible. I usually end the show or start winding down the show with 3 questions, brother.
Okay.
It can either spark another 5-10 minute conversation. It cannot. It could be a 1-2 word answer. There's no right or wrong answer, but you're a cop, so every answer is probably just going to be wrong. But no, man, it's all it's it's like the last ditch effort to get a little bit more into how you think and who you are, right? The first question is a little bit twofold in that, say, the TikTok Peacock has his own podcast, which is actually kind of funny because you were talking about maybe starting one with your boys. But his first guest is a TikTok Peacock. What's the one question you would have asked yourself and or piece of information you would have liked to share that maybe we didn't get to touch on?
How did you become the TikTok Peacock?
Thank you. Yes, that is a good one. Okay. You know what? That is a very good freaking answer because look, we all know the peacocks with the big feathers and they get real big. Those are the males. Those aren't the females. Those are the males, right? They're the ones with the huge ass feathers on their butts and everything else. Yeah. Where the hell did that name fucking come from, man? Like TikTok Peacock? What?
And this is all right. So this gets brought up like at least once in every live because people are like TikTok Peacock. Like, that's just the most random name ever, and it is. But all right. So the story behind this is, I was on patrol one day, and I was patrolling through a neighborhood, and I happened to see a peacock in a yard in front of somebody's house. And like I've never seen a peacock like in the wild before. I've always seen like zoos or something like that. I was like, "Is that a damn peacock?" Oh shit, a bug flew in my eye. Sorry. But I was like, is that a damn peacock? So I drive down the road a little bit. I did a U-turn. I come back and I'm looking. I'm like, that's a freaking peacock. Like, that's a real peacock. Like, holy shit. There's a peacock right here in this dude's yard. Well, I get turned back around and I stop in front of his house. And I'm like just watching the peacock in amazement because one, it's a beautiful animal. There's a truck in the driveway. It's got a chrome bumper. Well, the peacock sees its reflection in the chrome bumper and starts like approaching itself, almost like it's going to try to fight. I don't know what was going on. So I was like, this is going to be a good opportunity for like a Snapchat video or something. So I pull my phone out, I get on Snapchat, and I put one of the filters on that gives you a funny voice, like a chipmunk voice. And I start narrating what's happening as like it's National Geographic or something. This goes on for probably a minute, 2 minutes, something like that. Well, then I put the snap on my story. It blows up. Everybody thinks it's hilarious. So flash forward like 2 or 3 nights later, and I've been drinking. I'm on FaceTime with some other creators from TikTok. I've been drinking a lot. I had quite a bit to drink. I don't remember how it got brought up, but somebody was like, yo, G, do the peacock. And I'm like, what the hell is the peacock? What's a peacock do? So I start flapping my arms and squawking uncontrollably. And I'm sure it looked ridiculous, but it stuck. They thought it was hilarious. They thought it was funny. So then when we went to Nashville for our meetup, everybody there had learned about G. Scott and the peacock. So they were like, hey, peacock, do the peacock, do the peacock. So I'm like peacocking behind a waitress at the restaurant we're at. And then she turns around and I like stop, and then she turns back around. I'm going at it again. And then there's like a random.
That sounds so bad. I'm peacocking behind the waitress. That sounds so bad.
It sounds bad, and you put it like that. Then there's a Jeep Gladiator parked there in front of the restaurant on the side of the road. It's all jacked up, clean as hell, looking cool. And they're like, "Hey, we bet you won't get in the back of that Jeep Gladiator and do the peacock." And I was like, "Don't threaten me with a good time." So I get back there. I peacock in the back of this Jeep Gladiator. I jump out. I do like a cool parkour roll. I don't think it was as cool as I thought it was. I envisioned in my mind like it was badass, but I think it was really not. Then we ended up going to Costco to get food and drinks and all the stuff for the Airbnb we were staying at. And
that definitely sounds like a drunk night for sure.
They made me peacock in Costco. So I peacocked all over Costco. I peacocked all over Nashville, period.
Nobody made you do anything, Gray. You decided to do it.
Okay, this is very true. This is very true. I did it all on my own. There was just like, it was just kind of, they were asking, and I was like, yeah, let's go.
You bent to peer pressure.
Yeah, but after, like, we were getting ready, the Nashville trip was winding down, and I brought it up, and I was like, you know what? When I get back, I'm changing my name on TikTok. And everybody's like, what do you change your name to? I was like, I'm gonna change it to TikTok Peacock. They're like, you won't do it. I was like, bullshit. I will, absolutely will. And I did. I changed my name to TikTok Peacock. And I'll tell you, it's actually been the smartest move I've made on TikTok. I changed my name. I started going into people's lives. And what I did, I was kind of sneaky. I changed my name and I changed my profile picture to a peacock. So like I would go into people's lives and they'd be like, TikTok Peacock. Wait, it says we're friends. How are we friends? Why am I friends with a peacock? Like, how did this happen? What is going on? Like, who are you? Because if you're live, you can't see the other person's content.
Yeah, you can't go into their profile. Yeah.
So it was great. I would leave these people on and just let it would become a topic of conversation for, 10, 15 minutes of who the peacock is. Who is this peacock? And then I would be like, oh, it's me, G Scott. Oh, I love the name. The name's awesome. And for a while there, I would go into people's lives and I would say, have no fear. The peacock is here. Dun, dun, dun. And, I got John Collins with it. I got some big creators with it and I got them to say it, I don't know, it just become fun. But yeah, so that's where Peacock come from. It has nothing to do with me liking peacocks, but now I have a peacock onesie that one of my followers sent me. I have a peacock cape. I have, a potential peacock Speedo that may be coming to me at some point.
Oh, please tell me it has feathers coming off the back end. Oh, that'd be hilarious.
It does not. But you know what? We could always add some feathers. We can get some peacock. And you can
just put like a small belt on with big ass feathers around the Speedo.
And then I've got merchandise. I'm about to launch the Peacock merch as well. So I think you saw where I don't know if you've seen where I've flocked people, but I go into people's lives and I send my followers and we'll ask where the peacock is or what have you done with the peacock? Have you seen our peacock? Release the peacock.
Yeah, that was I was in Pedro's live. Yeah, okay. I was in Pedro's live. That's when I reached out.
So so that become a hit probably a few weeks ago when we started doing that. People love it. So my merchandise is going to be centered around that. All the shirts and stuff are going to have different peacock sayings. Where's the peacock? Just flock it. You're flocking awesome. What the flock? Like just things like that. It's going to be fun. So that should be releasing in a couple weeks. Hopefully, I've got me and my guy JV, who's actually one of my buddies I was talking about earlier. He's the one helping me out with the merchandise. He's designed the logo for me. So we're hoping to get that launched in a couple weeks. But yeah, that's where Peacock comes from. It has nothing to do with me actually liking peacocks or anything like that. It's just, I don't know.
Isn't it crazy how the things that happen to us on the day to day, the most simplest things, right? I mean, you saw a freaking animal in a yard and thought it was interesting, so you videotaped it, and then all of a sudden it just grew and snowballed, and then boom.
And now I see that peacock like on a daily basis. I stopped there the other day because it was outside. I was sitting on a trailer, and I started squawking at it and yee-yeeing at it, trying to like communicate. But I guess it was not interested in like. The real peacock was not interested in the TikTok peacock.
Dude, you're a TikTok peacock. You can't talk to peacocks all of a sudden now, man. You're not Dr. Doolittle now.
Listen, I got on Alexa. Okay, I got on Alexa. I asked Alexa like what sounds peacocks make, and it started playing the sounds back. I was trying to imitate the sounds. So I guess it wasn't good enough. I don't know, but it did look at me, but it didn't respond back. Like
it probably looked at you like you're a crazy mother.
I had a girl come into one of my lives and she's like, we used to raise peacocks. Like I've been around peacocks my whole life. I'm like, oh, this is cool. So I started asking her all these questions and, and I was doing this on my live with Alexa playing peacock sounds. And she's like, that's the peacock's version of Marco Polo. Like that's how they find each other. I'm like, what? So they like squawk at each other. That's like Marco. And then, the other one like, yee, like that's Polo. Like that's cool. So I don't know. It didn't work out that day though. The peacock was very uninterested in this peacock. So then
it already found you. Like, if it's playing Marco Polo and you do the Marco Polo sound, you're doing the Marco Polo sound. It's like Fuck, I see you. I don't need to find you. Why are you making that sound?
So
You should have done like a mating sound. A mating sound. A female mating sound.
I tried to do it like the Alexa. I asked Alexa what the mating sound of the peacock was, and she wouldn't give me one. I don't know. Maybe it's too vulgar. I have no idea. I'm kind of scared to know what a peacock sound is when it's in mating season.
It's probably like, hey girl, check out these tail feathers.
Hey girl, want to see my feather?
Ooh, feather? Just one?
I mean, it could be one if you want it to be one.
No,
or it could be a whole flock.
Oh God. Hey, I am on the What Makes Us Fire black couch. Doesn't mean we got to go there.
I got you.
All right, yeah, dude, that's a great question, and I was going to ask that, but had a feeling that I was going to make fun of you too much. So, and I'm glad I asked you towards the end, because man, there are so many jokes. I'm like freaking tearing up right now.
Yes, there are. God. There are plenty. But I get so I get this in all my lives. Like, where'd the peacock come from? So I have to go through the whole spiel at least. Like,
from now on, whenever I come into your live, I'm just gonna start doing Marco Polo peacock sounds.
You won't be the only one. There's other ones that do.
Well, then you know what? I'm gonna find out what the mating call is, and then I'll do that one. We'll see how much it works with the TikTok peacock.
Well, I'm here for it. Let's go.
We'll see. We'll see if you start turning red or start getting aroused or. Never mind. Anyway, second question.
Moving on.
The second question, man, is very simple. Do you have any questions for me? I'm an open book. I'm open to sharing who I am, where I come from, how I am, because I totally believe that to be an advocate for mental health, you have to be totally okay with allowing anybody and everybody knowing who you are and where you are.
I do have a question for you. And it's something that I ask everybody, but what made you want to become a firefighter?
That's actually a really good question. And I never grew up wanting to be a firefighter. Never grew up wanting to be in the civil service. Believe it or not, I grew up wanting to be an actor.
Whoa.
Yeah. So when I was like 17, 18 years old, I got into modeling. I got into acting a little bit. I was in a few commercials. And from the Houston area, I moved to New Mexico, where they did, New Mexico is used for movie shoots a lot, Santa Fe, Albuquerque area. And while I was there, I actually learned how to ballroom dance, and I was a ballroom dance instructor.
Hey.
And so I taught ballroom dance. I taught Latin, you name it, country western, East Coast swing, West Coast swing, the waltz, the Viennese waltz, you name it. And once I did that, I realized, you know what? This is not going to my dream of becoming an actor. Now, I wanted to be an actor because I loved acting. I didn't want to do it to be famous. I wasn't looking to be famous. I just loved being on stage. I loved portraying a different person other than myself. And I think the reason why I loved it so much is because it was tied to my childhood trauma. That's a whole nother story. But I loved it so much because it allowed me to be somebody else and not who I was.
Right.
When I started finally realizing that, that even though I do love acting, and I still do, I still love acting. I still love being on stage and talking to people. I'm very much the kind of person that'll be the first one with his hand raised, the first person to jump on stage and talk. I have no problem doing anything like that. But I realized it wasn't necessarily a passion as much as it was a want.
Right.
Right. So I actually lived in San Diego for a little bit. I couldn't afford LA. My dad's in the Navy. I stayed with him in San Diego, figured I can take trips to LA for casting or whatever. And it didn't work out. So I came back to Houston for like the third or fourth time. All right. And this is a really like from 17 to about 22, really, really short period of time. Right. We're talking 5 years. I moved back and forth. I didn't know. I was trying, wasn't trying too hard. that last time I came back, my parents here in Houston were like, look, just like you can move back, but you're either going to go to work or you're going to go to school. Well, we ain't taking care of you. I was like, okay, I'm going to go to school. Because I just got done working. Like I was working at a shipyard right next to the naval base in San Diego. And on the drive to the college, my girlfriend at the time is sitting in the passenger seat. And I don't know what I'm going to sign up for. I'm thinking, at the very least, just do my basics. But then I started realizing if I just do my basics, it's going to take me forever to find a job. I don't want to live in my parents' house at 22 years old. I've already felt the freedom of what it's like to live on my own at 18, 19, 20 years old. I don't want to go back to that. So I was like, look at the certifications. Look at that section. What do they offer there that I can take a semester or two, have a certification from the state or, federal certification, and I can go to work, right? And so she starts reading them off, pipe fitter, welder. I already did those things. And she goes, and then she hit firefighter. And I was just like, that sounds like fun. I like to help people. I'm into manual labor. It seems like they do a lot of manual labor, Sure. My idea of what a firefighter was completely skewed, right? It was, I never knew a firefighter. I didn't know exactly what the job entailed. Nothing. So we get there. The counselor's just like, you can sign up to be in the fire academy and everything else. Just to note that, most fire departments now require the firefighters to have their EMT along with their fire certification and everything else. So we recommend you taking your EMT. That way, once you go to the actual fire academy, you don't have to worry about doing both at the same time. I'm like, okay. And the EMT basic is one semester. So it's about 3 to 4 months with you have to do ride-alongs, you have to do in the hospital. And so I'm like, okay, cool. The first day of class, I open up that EMT basic book and I was hooked. Hook, line, and sinker. And it wasn't necessarily the pictures and the gore and all that other stuff. It was, I was reading information that was telling me how to mitigate and save somebody's life. Where if I was before this education, before this knowledge, if I would have saw somebody with a specific type of injury, I would have been like, ooh, that fucker's dead. Now I can look at that injury and go, ooh, you can save his life. Right? And I was just hooked. I was hooked on the knowledge and learning about this. And then I got into the fire side of it and I was just like, oh, fuck yeah. Oh, hell yeah. I mean, nobody will ever understand it. But being inside fire, watching the flames roll over your head, feeling the heat, knowing that if you didn't have this gear on, you're going to die. But being in the fire, crawling underneath the fire, not even spraying water, learning about the science behind it, the thermal layering, the GPM, how much a gallon of water, how much heat it can absorb, the expansion rate from a drop of water to steam, and putting all that stuff together. I mean, I was like, this is amazing. It's way more involved than just putting the wet stuff on the red stuff, And then when I got on the job, I was like, well, shit, it's not just firefighting. It's you're an electrician, you're an AC person, you're a janitor, you're manual labor, you're a cleanup crew, there's so much other things that you're helping people with.
Yes.
And you're an inspector, you're a planner. I mean, so much more goes into being a firefighter than what people think. Just like so much more goes into being a cop than what people think. So much more goes into being in the military than people think. And when I was exposed to it finally, I was just hooked. And so it wasn't necessarily me growing and wanting to be a firefighter. It was firefighting, grabbing and taking a hold of me and bringing me in.
Nice.
Like once that happened, I knew that this was what I was meant to do. Pure and simple. Just it's what I was meant to do. Not because I love it, not because I do love it. I do want to continue doing it, but it's just what I was meant to do.
Right.
And it could be through this process, through becoming a firefighter, through dealing with my depression, everything else, now I have this nonprofit foundation. Now, if I never become a firefighter, the possibility of me helping other civil service members may have never come up.
Mm-hmm.
So I thank God, I think my decision, and where I'm at now, because I'm to the point now that if the nonprofit grows to a point to where I could retire early, I will. So I can dedicate all of my time in helping my brothers and sisters in civil service get the help they need so they can continue to go on the streets, and I'll continue to help take care of them. That to me, I'm okay with that. For anything else, I would not give up firefighting for.
Right.
So, but yeah, that's it for me.
That's good answer.
Appreciate that. My last question to you, Gray. It's probably the deepest question. You're on What Makes Us Fire, right? But what I like to tell my guests is don't think of it as firefighting. Think of it as what makes us civil service, right? When people listen to the show, they can either think one or two things. They can think of this, I'm listening to somebody and they're telling me what makes them a civil service member. What about them makes them that? What they do. But really, it's more of a question to my guess. What do you think it is that makes people like you and me, people like your brothers and sisters in your service, in your department, people that are so different and come from so many different backgrounds, want to do this job, that are civil service members? What do you think it is that drives us to do it?
I think it's just the wanting to help, the wanting to make society a better place. And I know we're never going to make society the best place it can be, but just the want and the fire and the desire to try to make things better, to help people, just to be there for people. That's why I became a cop, and got into civil service. And I feel like most people get into civil service because they want to help. They want to be a difference. I know some of the guys that I talk to, when I train a new guy, I always ask them, why did you become a cop? Why a police officer? What made you want to get into law enforcement? And it's usually the same answers, because I want to help people. I want to serve people. I want to protect. And I feel like that's kind of the standard for most everybody is, we want to make the world a better place. We want to make a difference, whether it's making a difference one life at a time or 10 lives at a time. As long as you're making a difference somewhere, you're doing your job as a civil servant.
I guess my question is, to be more specific, is that even with all these backgrounds, even with all these different upbringings, different ideas, different moralistic backgrounds, different cultural backgrounds, you have Muslims, Christians, Jews, atheists, you have black, white, gray, green, yellow, you have Asian, Hispanic, Caucasian, Muslim. Literally all these different backgrounds, all these different upbringings, moralistic values, religious values, sexual orientation backgrounds. They are all a part of the service. The civil service has them all. It's not what the general public thinks. It's just a whole bunch of white men doing the job. No, we are completely diverse. There is a whole bunch of different type of people that do these jobs in the civil service, and a whole bunch of different backgrounds that come in and do this job in the civil service. But for example, you take a Republican and a Democrat. It's just an example. We're not going to get political, but outside the civil service, outside the job, you don't see that one idea is going to actually go out of their way to help another, right? If that person has a different idea than me politically, I'm not going to go help them, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yet in our job, it doesn't matter. My brother and my sister next to me, whether he agrees with me on a political stance or not, I'm going to stand in front to protect him if I need to. If you call 911, I'm not asking you what your political affiliation is before I come out there and see if I really want to help you or not. No, I'm coming. I'm coming, and I'm going to do everything I can to help you. Right? So in essence, we're even almost fighting our own moralistic values to help people that might not fall in line with that. But we still do it. So I'm asking, where did that come from? Where did that thing inside of us come from?
That's a good question.
It's a hard thing to answer.
It is. That's it's definitely, I really don't know how to answer that, because I mean, you're right. People come into civil service from all walks of life. You got people that come in from poverty. You got people that come in from, different countries. I know I have a girl at my department who is, she's from Israel originally. She moved to New York at a pretty young age, and then she moved down here to Tennessee and become a cop. I work with people of all different colors and race and sex, gender, whatever you want to say. But man, that's a tough one to really answer.
Right? And then all of you have the same idea and want to do.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's got the same, as far as we've got the same desires. We want to help. We want to be there. We want to, do that. But morally, why are we wanting to do that is the question.
Exactly. It's hard.
It's loaded, because it's hard to say what somebody else is morally thinking versus what I'm morally thinking. My moral compass is different than your moral compass.
Right. But all those moral compasses are for, at some point, cross.
And they all align at some point.
They all align at that one point of becoming a civil service member. So
yeah.
where is it? What is it? I think Scales may have put it the best for me so far. It still doesn't really explain it. Officer, he said experience. It's our life experiences that, because no matter where you are and what background of life you have, it doesn't matter. We all experience sadness. We all experience depression. We all experience trauma. We all experience hate. We all experience love. We all experience, it's just experience, right? That's the commonality. It doesn't matter what your background is. You're going to be sad at some point. You're going to be upset at some point. You're going to know what it feels like when somebody was there to help you at some point. And he said, I think it's experience that drove us to want to do this job.
So that's a good depiction of it. I mean, I could go along with that and agree with that, because like you said, and like he said, which I haven't listened to his episode yet, but yeah, I mean, we all do experience the same kind of things at some point in our lives. So I can definitely see where that would be something that would, our moral compasses would all align at that point, with experience. So I'm gonna go along with what Scales said.
Yeah,
Scales is my dude, and I really just don't know that you could define it any better than that. I'm sure there probably could be, and there's still
holes in that answer.
There is, and you may get somebody that is like Pops. I'm sure Pops could probably give you a really deep answer into that too. But yeah, I'm going to go along with Scales on that and just say experience is what helps our moral compasses align with what we do and being in civil service.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's a hard question. It's a very loaded question.
It's a very loaded question. That's one that you almost have to think about, like sit and kind of dive into it,
Right. But I didn't want to send you questions before the interview. So
no, and I'm glad you
talked about that.
No, I'm glad you didn't. But that, that's something that I'm probably, after this interview, I'm probably going to kind of sit and think about and try to come up with something, at least just for my own self. Cause, that's definitely a good question. It's not something that I've ever been asked before.
Yeah. And it's something that I ask because, I think when we're able to give a really good answer, I think it's going to humanize the badge even more. Humanize the civil service even more, because we're going to find that commonality with everybody, and it's going to make it human.
I agree 100%.
Well, Gray, brother, I greatly appreciate you coming on the show again and talking about it, bullshitting with me, sharing your ideas, opening up about your past. I don't know how open you've gotten before, but I appreciate that you did here and now. I think a lot of people are going to learn not only about you, but about, your ideas, and the fact that you're able to open up, hopefully can help another brother or sister out there go, hey, if he can talk about this, maybe I should too. And
Right.
you coming on is helping me fight that idea that we can't. And I appreciate that. Other than that, man, let's go ahead and wrap it up. This is your plug time now. This is where you can tell the What Makes Us Fire family and anybody else that's listening, where can they find you, what they should be on the lookout for. It's all up to you, man.
Guys, I mean, if you guys want to find me, I'm on TikTok, obviously, as the TikTok_Peacock. Feel free to check out my content. Follow me there. You can always expect comedy and good laughs and good wholehearted content. If you want to come into my lives, you're going to see a lot of positive reinforcement and a lot of positivity. I'm also on Facebook. I don't really get on Facebook a lot. You can find me on Instagram as well, the_TikTok_Peacock. The link to my Instagram is on my bio and TikTok. So I do get on my Instagram pretty often. But yeah, I mean, I'm just a simple Southern guy that enjoys making people laugh and making people happy, and I enjoy what I do as a police officer, and just being the best person that I can be. I try to be as positive and happy as I can be, but I do go through my battles just like everybody else. So, but if you guys are looking for funny content, hey, check me out.
Yeah, I mean, y'all, just a heads up. I want to remind you, he is a cop. He has pretty blue eyes, but his face, his face is a little, he's a cop. I got to make fun of him somehow. I can't, I want to say his face, it's like a baby's face. You want to pet it. You want to pet it. You almost want to go sniff it. Cause you know how those new babies face, other than the little hair on your chin,
I do have a baby face.
You do, man. You got a baby face.
I do.
I just want to go.
Do it.
Fresh baby smell.
It may even smell like. I can't smell my own face, but it may even smell like. I don't know. I take care of my face. So a lot of moisturizers and face washes and stuff.
Oh God,
so,
sorry. You're one of those guys.
I take care. I take care of myself. Okay, that's all I'm saying. We're going there. I'm a cop.
Yeah. Yes, that's it. All right. What makes us fire, family? You heard it. This is the TikTok Peacock, TikTok_Peacock on TikTok, the_TikTok_Peacock on Instagram. Go give him a follow. Become part of his family. This man's amazing. Absolutely. He's good people. He gives a shit about you and everything else that you are. He wants to lift you up. He wants to give you hope. He wants to make you laugh. And if he doesn't, well, come follow me. I'll do it. Anyway, brother, again, thank you so much. What Makes Us Fire, family? Absolutely. Get out there, have fun, stay safe, show some love and peace out in the world. You never know who's going to need it. You never know if you're going to be the one to make the difference. And being that difference feels pretty damn good.
Right, man.
Be the change you want to see in the world. Don't let the world dictate how you want to see that change. Let's just be better.
That's right. Hey, I appreciate you, dude. Seriously, appreciate you.
Appreciate you too, brother. All right, What Makes Us Fire, family? That was Gray, the TikTok Peacock on social media and on TikTok and everything else. I'm pretty sure it's on all his social media platforms. Just go to TikTok if you want to find him. Dude's an amazing human being. I want to thank him for coming on the show, sharing his point of view, sharing how he has dealt with things, sharing and being honest with us on how it affected him. It's not a very proud moment to admit that what you're going through comes out and you lash out to the people you love. It's not a proud moment. He was able to admit that and he was able to own it. And I think that's huge. I think we need to start being able to do that with ourselves and realizing that how we feel and these crazy thoughts in our heads aren't really us. It's our brains trying to process something our brains aren't meant to process. Great, brother. Thank you very much, man. I love the story of how you got your Peacock name. Keep peacocking it up, bro. I can't wait to have you back on. What makes us fire family? You know that time of the show. Thank you so much for listening, following, and sharing the podcast and supporting the nonprofit. If you don't know what the nonprofit's for, What Makes Us Fire Nonprofit Foundation is to help our civil service members, be it military or first responders, active, retired, and veteran, and volunteers get inpatient mental health treatment. We do that by making sure finances are not an option. They are not a deciding factor on whether or not one of our brothers and sisters goes and gets the help that they are searching for. If you would like to make a donation to the What Makes Us Fire Foundation, your contribution not only helps this podcast continue to move forward and grow, but your contribution also goes towards that mission. Go to WhatMakesUsFire.com, hit the donate button, and please, 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 any little helps. And yeah, keep sharing. Follow us on all your social media platforms with the tag @WhatMakesUsFire. Follow us on YouTube with What Makes Us Fire Space Podcast. Also, if you are finding yourself right now in a crisis and you need someone to talk to, listen up. I'm about to give you a phone number. This phone number is 100% anonymous, 100% confidential, 100% free. If you need help, call. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 1-800-273-8255. Again, the number is 1-800-273-8255. I know it says National Suicide Prevention Hotline, but I have called just having ideations, having thoughts. They help. Reach out. If talking to somebody is not for you, visit suicidepreventionlifeline.org, where you will find a multitude of resources to help you start your journey on your mental health clarity. I do have to put a disclaimer that the National Suicide Prevention Hotline and suicidepreventionlifeline.org do not in any way, shape, or form support or sponsor the What Makes Us Fire Foundation or the What Makes Us Fire podcast. This is me just sharing with you what I believe works. Much love to you all. Take care. Stay safe. Peace.